Chapter 4155. What's going on here? Mo Fengyu, the green-robed elder, and the others came forward. They observed the dilapidated surroundings, their eyes full of confusion. Fu Di shook his head. I'm not very sure what happened either. Brother Z, you should be the only witness. But his injuries are too serious, and he's unconscious. Just as everyone was in a state of confusion, the space nearby began to distort. A figure holding a silver spear slowly stepped out of it. This youth wore a silver mask and held a silver spear. He exuded an indescribable sense of mystery. He was Suzhou. Brother Suzhou, so you're here. Do you know what happened just now? Fu Di supported the unconscious Ziyu and couldn't help but ask Suzhou. All the cultivators present focused their gazes on Suzhou. Ziyu and Suzhou were together. Now that Ziyu had fainted, then Suzhou should have been nearby when what happened just now happened. If they wanted to know what had happened, Suzhou should know. Suzhou clutched his chest. Traces of blood seeped out from under the silver mask. He hadn't come out unscathed from the terrifying explosion just now. Sigh, we got a fake coffin. Suzhou sighed softly. Everyone was shocked, especially Mo Fengyu and the others. They stared at Suzhou with narrowed eyes. Suzhou's words undoubtedly showed that he had already obtained the coffin, and what Zhuowen had said back then wasn't a lie, and they had only been fooled by Suzhou. Gongzi Suzhou, it seems that you've hidden a lot of things from us. It's better if you tell us now. Otherwise, even if your background isn't weak, we won't let this matter rest. Mo Fengyu said indifferently. Suzhou naturally sensed that the gazes from the surrounding people had become sharp and unfriendly. He knew that if he didn't give them an explanation, they wouldn't let this matter rest. The reason why he mentioned this matter was mainly because he suspected that Zhuowen might have already known about the location of the tomb. This was because after they left the inner hall, Zhuowen did not come out. Instead, it was as if he had evaporated into thin air. There was no trace of him at all. Suzhou was extremely intelligent and immediately connected the dots. If he told the truth, not only would he be cleared of suspicion, but he would also be able to draw everyone's attention to Zhuowen, and he would be able to rejoin the search for Zhuowen. It's like this, Suzhou slowly explained everything that had happened in the inner hall, as well as the details of them sneaking out to open the coffin. Everyone revealed shocked expressions when they heard this. They never imagined that the coffin that Suzhou and the others had obtained would actually be fake. Moreover, there was even a terrifying trap within it. Although some people had doubts in their hearts, they didn't doubt it too much. After all, Suzhou, Ziyu, and the others had paid a heavy price. Lin Long and his wife were on the verge of death from the explosion. Ziyu was seriously injured and unconscious. Even Suzhou's injuries were not light. Some people even rejoiced that they hadn't participated in the team that had snatched the fake coffin. After all, snatching the fake coffin was a thankless task. Gongzi Suzhou, why are you so sure that Zhuowen can find the real tomb? Mo Fengyu finally asked the question in his heart. Zhuowen and Duan Jipeng were the same as us. They were also in the inner hall. After we left the inner hall, they didn't come out. At that time, I returned to the inner hall, but I didn't see the two of them. Then the answer is very clear. The two of them didn't leave the inner hall at all. Perhaps the real tomb is in the inner hall. Also, besides the fake coffin, there were actually two balls of light in the inner hall. However, those were Zhuowen and Duan Jipeng, respectively, took the two balls of light. I suspect that the secret to entering the real tomb is in those two balls of light. Suzhou methodically analyzed. Mo Fengyu, the green-robed elder, and the others all nodded inwardly. Suzhou's analysis was reasonable. Gongzi Suzhou, you have to lead the way this time. We will follow behind you. I don't think Gongzi Suzhou will object, right? Mo Fengyu grinned coldly. Suzhou looked at the covetous eyes of the people around him. He also knew that Mo Fengyu's request was to prevent him from sneaking away again. He couldn't refuse, so he nodded. Haha, Gongzi Su Zhou is a straightforward person. Then Gongzi Su Zhou will lead the way first. Mo Fai laughed. Su Zhou nodded and said to Fu Di behind him, Take good care of Brother Ziyu. If anything happens to him, I think you won't be able to explain it to Xiling Domain. Fu Di quickly nodded. They knew a little about Ziyu's identity, so they naturally didn't dare to neglect him. Under Su Zhou's lead, the group of people once again entered the main hall of the tomb in a mighty array. After entering the main hall, Su Zhou went straight to the inner hall. Although the inner hall was large, it couldn't accommodate so many cultivators. Therefore, only the stronger cultivators could enter. As for the other cultivators, they could only wait outside for news. The inner hall is already in such a state. It seems that the battle before was quite intense. The green-robed elder looked around at the cracked surface of the inner hall. He couldn't help but frown. Su Zhou turned a deaf ear to him. Instead, he continued to investigate every corner of the inner hall, not letting go of any details. Finally, he stopped at the center of the inner hall. He gently stroked the ground in the center. If I'm not wrong, the circle in the center of the inner hall should have been opened before. Perhaps there is a passageway below, Su Zhou said solemnly. Mo Faiyu, the green-robed elder, and the others followed Su Zhou's finger and observed carefully. They indeed saw a thin, circular crack in the center, like a circular door that was tightly shut. We'll know once we blast it open. Mo Faiyu was rather impatient. His right hand formed a fist. Terrifying calamity power condensed in his fist. He punched the ground in the center. Boom! There was a terrifying explosion. Then a terrifying wave of qi swept out in all directions. Then everyone was shocked to find that Mo Faiyu was sent flying with a grunt. His entire body was embedded in the dome of the inner hall. The circular outline in the center of the inner hall didn't move at all. There wasn't even a crack. Chapter 4156. Bang! Mo Fengyu jumped down from the dome in a rather sorry state. There was a trace of blood at the corner of his mouth, and his eyes were filled with both shock and anger. He had not expected that his all-out attack would not only fail to shatter the ground in the center, but that he would end up in such a sorry state. Everyone, let's attack together. I don't believe we can't break the ground in the center. Mo Fengyu's eyes were gloomy. His suggestion immediately received everyone's approval. Anyone who could gather in the inner hall had the strength of the great tribulation of heaven and earth, or the cultivation of the great tribulation of heaven and earth. Under Mo Fengyu's leadership, they gathered all their divine power and, with a roar, blasted the ground in the center. Boom! 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 Continuous explosions rang out, and even more terrifying shockwaves swept out. The entire inner hall could not withstand the terrifying shockwaves and directly collapsed into ruins. But what stunned everyone was that, even though the entire inner hall had been destroyed into ruins, the ground in the center was still as undamaged as a mountain. How is this possible? Su Zhou also revealed a look of disbelief. The ground in the center was too sturdy. Their group of strongest cultivators had joined forces and still could not cause any damage to it. I don't believe it. Again. Mo Fengyu's face was gloomy. He once again led everyone to attack the ground in the center. Time and time again, their joint attacks were all in vain. Some cultivators were even injured and coughed up blood because they were unable to withstand the rebounding shockwaves. Don't waste your energy. No matter how many times you attack, you shouldn't be able to break the ground in the center. It should have been strengthened by that cosmic Dharma powerhouse. That's why it's so sturdy. If that cosmic Dharma powerhouse hadn't come in person, we wouldn't have been able to break it. No matter how many times you attack, it won't help, Su Zhou said with a frown. Then what do? Are we going to give up just like that? The green-robed elder was very dissatisfied. Su Zhou said indifferently, Will Zhuowen and Duan Jiping stay in the tomb for the rest of their lives? They will come out eventually. Can't we just wait for them to come out? Mo Fayu, the green-robed elder, and the others looked at each other and nodded. They felt that Suzhou's suggestion was not bad. All they had to do was wait. No matter what benefits Zhuowen and Duan Jiping had obtained, as long as they caught the two of them, wouldn't the opportunity on them be theirs? After everyone had reached a consensus, they surrounded the main hall in 3 layers, making it so that not even a drop of water could trickle through. After doing this, they all hid their figures. As long as there was any movement in the main hall, it would not be able to escape their detection. Time gradually passed. In the blink of an eye, 3 months had passed. Zhuowen slowly opened his eyes. There were not many resources left around him, but his aura had become even more vast and terrifying. Crackle! Zhuowen stood up, and the bones in his body actually emitted a muffled sound filled with strength. I've finally reached the pinnacle of the ancient star transformation. Zhuowen clenched his fists, his eyes filled with excitement. Although he had only advanced by a small level, his strength had still undergone huge qualitative change. He could feel that with his current strength, even if he faced Mo Fayu, the green-robed elder, and the other pinnacle experts of the Great Tribulation of Universe, it would not be so easy for them to kill Zhuowen, even if he could not defeat them. In addition, Zhuowen had many trump cards on him. The pinnacle experts of the Great Tribulation of Universe, such as Mo Fayu and the green-robed elder, were not as much of a threat to him as they were at the beginning. When Zhuowen stepped out of the white jade palace again, he found that Duan Jiping was still sitting in the cosmic aspect. However, Duan Jiping was no longer sitting on the periphery of the cosmic aspect. Instead, he was sitting in the core position of the cosmic aspect. Moreover, Zhuowen also keenly noticed that the light of the laws intertwined on the cosmic aspect was much dimmer than it had been 3 months ago. Obviously, the essence of the cosmic aspect had been absorbed by Duan Jiping in the past 3 months. He knew that when all the essence of the cosmic aspect had been completely absorbed by Duan Jiping, perhaps Duan Jiping would have the opportunity to condense the cosmic aspect. Next, Zhuowen did not go into seclusion again. He had just broken through, and it was unlikely that he would break through again in a short period of time. Moreover, he had a premonition that if he broke through to the Great Carefree Realm, the resources he would need would be absolutely unimaginable. His harvest in the tomb could be said to be extremely rich. If it were an ordinary cultivator, it would be enough for him to cultivate to the Great Tribulation of Universe. However, Zhuowen had a premonition that these resources might not be enough. Moreover, half of these resources belonged to Duan Jiping. This was what he had previously agreed with the latter. Therefore, Zhuowen was not in a hurry to break through again. Instead, he began to focus on alchemy and array Dao in addition to cultivation. Especially in alchemy, his level was only at heaven-breaking level 9, which was far below array Dao. This was also why Zhuowen had focused on array Dao some time ago. With the help of the enigmatic ancient book Heaven Patching Catalog, his array Dao had advanced so quickly. Now, because the Heaven Patching Catalog was incomplete, his limit was only at the peak of the first heaven of the eternal level. If he wanted to break through again, he had to find a more powerful ancient book of array Dao or find the complete Heaven Patching Catalog. Otherwise, it would be difficult for Zhuowen to advance further in array Dao. As for alchemy, because Zhuowen had inherited by Tiangong's memory, the latter's alchemy and array Dao had both reached the first heaven of the eternal level. Therefore, Zhuowen wanted to break through to the first heaven of the eternal level in alchemy in a short period of time. Next, Zhuowen began to frantically refine the first heaven of the eternal level divine pills. As long as he could successfully refine them, his alchemy would smoothly enter the first heaven of the eternal level. Of course, it was very difficult to refine a divine pill of this level, even if Zhuowen had by Tiangong's memory and experience. Fortunately, he had harvested a large number of divine herbs this time, most of which were of the first heaven of the eternal level. Therefore, this gave him the capital to squander. After a month, Zhuowen had wasted dozens of cauldrons of pills. He finally succeeded on the last day. Zhuowen stood up and slammed his right hand on the pill cauldron in front of him. Suddenly, the lid of the cauldron was lifted, and a 7-colored rainbow shot up into the sky. Above the vault of heaven, a rainbow-like long bridge appeared, spanning across the horizon. Following that, an extremely rich medicinal power filled the whole world. Zhuowen looked over and found that at the top of the 7-colored rainbow, there was a thumb-sized 7-colored pill. This rainbow-colored pill flew through the air like a free fish, galloping between heaven and earth without the slightest scruple. Zhuowen silently watched the 7-colored pill play, and the corners of his mouth revealed a smile of excitement. The 7-colored pill was called the 7 Ultimate Yang Divine Pill. It was a healing divine pill of the first heaven of the eternal level. It was considered a primary divine pill of the eternal level. But even this primary divine pill of the eternal level was enough to make many experts of the great calamity of universe fight over it. Chapter 4157. Zhuowen waved his sleeve, and the 7 Ultimate Yang Restoration Divine Pill flew back to his palm. It touched Zhuowen's palm intimately. After all, the 7 Ultimate Yang Restoring Divine Pill was an eternal grade, divine pill with a unique spirituality. It naturally knew that Zhuowen was its creator and had a deep sense of dependence on him. After putting away the 7 Ultimate Yang Restoration Pill, Zhuowen frowned slightly. He could not help but look at the huge cosmic form in the middle of the mountain range in the distance. At this moment, the cosmic avatar had become dim and lifeless. The countless laws surrounding the cosmic avatar had become so thin that they were almost undetectable. Boom! All of a sudden, the huge cosmic image suddenly collapsed. Due to the loss of control, the laws formed a terrifying storm of laws that wreaked havoc in the endless mountains. Boom! Boom! Terrifying explosions rang out continuously, causing Zhuowen's expression to change drastically. He kept the white jade palace and immediately flew backwards. When he retreated tens of thousands of miles away, he saw that the mountain range where the cosmic form had completely collapsed and turned into an illusory ruin. Not good, Brother Duan. Zhuowen's expression changed. He hadn't expected such a change to happen to the cosmic image. Thinking about Duan Jipeng still in the core of the cosmic image, he couldn't help but panic. After the terrifying storm of laws weakened a lot, Zhuowen took a step forward and arrived at the mountain range that had already turned into ruins. The towering mountains had long been shattered into countless pieces of rocks. In the center of the mountain ruins, there was an incomparably deep pit. It was pitch black, and it was impossible to see how deep it was. Ha ha ha. So that's how it is. So that's how the laws of the universe work. I finally understand. In the depths of this incomparably deep pit, an unrestrained laughter resounded from within the pit and spread throughout the entire world. After that, Zhuowen saw a rather miserable figure slowly fly out from the depths of the pit. His face was filled with the excitement of great enlightenment. He was, of course, Duan Jipeng. Duan Jipeng obviously also noticed Zhuowen, who was not far away with a worried look on his face. He hurried to the latter's side, unable to stop smiling. Brother Duan, have you condensed a cosmic form? Zhuowen asked tentatively. Duan Jipeng shook his head and said, No. I just understood the essence of the cosmic form and mastered the final laws. Now, it is no longer a problem for me to condense my own cosmic form, but it will take a long time. It will take some time. This place is not very suitable. Zhuowen nodded. He felt happy for Duan Jipeng in his heart. After all, Duan Jipeng's strength would be of great help to him. Brother Duan, this ring contains half of the resources in the coffin. Zhuowen took out a sparkling green thumb ring and handed it to Duan Jipeng. Duan Jipeng took the ring with a trace of hesitation and shame in his eyes. To him, a cosmic form was already the best treasure. He had obtained Lu Yanhua's cosmic form and mastered the laws of condensing cosmic forms, which was already a great advantage for him. Now he had to share half of the tomb's resources with Zhuowen. He was indeed a little embarrassed, although he had the intention to refuse. After seeing Zhuowen's resolute gaze, he knew that if he were to refuse, then a crack might appear in his relationship with Zhuowen. Brother Zhuo, it's really been hard on you. Duan Jipeng accepted the ring with a grin and no longer said any nonsense. It's about time we leave. However, I think Su Zhou and the others have already discovered that what they took was a fake coffin. If we go out, we might be intercepted by many people. Zhuowen said helplessly. He knew very well that whether it was Su Zhou and Mo Fengyu or the green-robed old man, they would not easily give up the treasures in the tomb. They must be waiting outside for the two of them to appear. When the time came, they would gang up and attack them. Duan Jipeng sneered. Brother Zhuo, if it was before we entered the real tomb, I would be afraid of Mo Fengyu, the green-robed old man, and the other experts of the great tribulation of universe. But now, it should be them who are afraid of me. Zhuowen looked at the confident Duan Jipeng in surprise. It seemed that although the latter had not successfully condensed a cosmic form, he had also obtained a lot of benefits, greatly increasing his battle strength. Brother Zhuo, let's go. I'd like to see if they really dare to snatch food from the tiger's mouth. Duan Jipeng was in high spirits as he stepped toward the exit. Zhuowen shrugged and followed behind Duan Jipeng. Speaking of which, he had also gained a lot this time. Ordinary experts of the great tribulation of universe were not his match. If he used his trump card, even peak experts of the great tribulation of universe might not be able to defeat him. The exit here was not the original entrance, but another passage. Zhuowen had inadvertently seen the internal structure of the tomb after he had obtained the white jade palace. Only then did he know the specific direction of the exit. They rushed toward the west and came to the far west. There stood a huge bronze door that was so high that it could not be reached. This bronze door was far larger than any that Zhuowen had seen before. It stood between heaven and earth, as if it connected heaven and earth. In the center of the bronze door, there was a medium-sized gap. Behind the door, there were wisps of dazzling scarlet light. Zhuowen and Duan Jipeng stopped in front of the door and hesitated. This bronze door was a little strange. They were not sure if it was the real exit. Brother Zhuo, did you make a mistake? Why do I feel that there's something wrong with this bronze door? Duan Jipeng rubbed his hands. Zhuowen rolled his eyes and said, that structure diagram should be real. This bronze door looks strange, but it's the real exit. After saying that, Zhuowen took a step forward and entered the gap of the bronze door. Soon, his figure was drowned by the scarlet light behind the door. Duan Jipeng smiled embarrassedly and hurriedly followed. The moment he entered the gap, Zhuowen's eyes were filled with a scarlet color. He discovered that the surroundings were incomparably bright blood red rivers. These blood red rivers were like vigorous pythons as they whistled through the surroundings and flew wantonly. The entire space was filled with a rather pungent and dense smell of blood. Zhuowen remained unmoved instead, and he ceaselessly descended along a crystalline and translucent staircase. His footsteps were orderly, regular, and even. Duan Jipeng frowned slightly. The smell of blood in the surroundings was too strong. Even he felt uncomfortable. However, when he saw Zhuowen walking forward as if nothing had happened, he did not say anything and silently followed him. Chapter 4158. Brother Duan, the blood river and the stench of blood around us are just illusions. Don't fall into it. Zhuowen suddenly stopped and turned to look at Duan Jipeng, whose eyes were slightly bloodshot, with an extremely serious expression. Duan Jipeng, whose eyes were originally bloodshot, was stunned when he heard Zhuowen's warning. Then he quickly calmed down. The scarlet in his eyes gradually faded. When he looked at his surroundings again, although the river of blood was still raging, the choking smell of blood had disappeared without a trace. Brother Zhuo, thank you. Duan Jipeng smiled bitterly and hurriedly cupped his hands at Zhuowen. If not for Zhuowen's warning, he might have really been affected by this illusion. At the same time, he was even more impressed with Zhuowen. The latter's cultivation was only at the ancient star transformation stage, but he was actually not affected by this illusion at all. It was really amazing. What Duan Jipeng did not know was that although Zhuowen's cultivation was not strong, his soul was stronger than Duan Jipeng's. Moreover, he was proficient in the array Dao. When he first entered this place, he knew that there was a powerful illusion array here. Therefore, he kept his mind clear and unaffected. He was surprised that Duan Jipeng, an expert who was about to condense the cosmic Laksana, had almost fallen into it. It seemed that the illusion array here was really not weak. After Duan Jipeng woke up, he kept his mind alert at all times. The illusion around him did not affect him. After about an hour, they reached the end of the stairs. When they walked out, they found that they had appeared at the entrance of a cave on the peak of the purple flame, Divine Mountain. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. As soon as they walked out of the cave, dozens of figures immediately appeared around them. Then, someone released a signal flare that shot into the sky. Suddenly, more figures rushed over from other parts of the purple flame, Divine Mountain. Many of them rushed out from the temple on the peak of the mountain and surrounded Zhuowen and Duan Jipeng. Found them. They finally came out. Excited voices immediately sounded from the surroundings. The many cultivators surrounding Zhuowen and Duan Jipeng all looked at the two of them with shining eyes. It was as if at this moment Zhuowen and Duan Jipeng had both become delicious steamed buns in their eyes. "Haha, Brother Zhua, Brother Duan, you've kept us waiting." A burst of hearty laughter came from not far away. Up ahead, a group of people slowly parted, and a young man wearing a silver mask slowly walked out from the crowd. He was none other than Su Daytime. Behind Su Zhou was the purple-haired and purple-eyed Ziyu. However, Ziyu's face was slightly pale. Although the explosion of the fake coffin had obviously affected Ziyu greatly, he still hadn't fully recovered after a few months and was still seriously injured. Humph. He was finally out. "We have been waiting for you for a long time." On the other side of the encirclement, Mo Fengyu slowly walked out with Mo Liuhua and Lu Yingying. His sharp eyes stared coldly at Zhuowen and Duan Jipeng. At the same time, Zhuowen also noticed that on the left, the green-robed old man silently walked out of the crowd. He didn't speak, but his sharp, murderous eyes represented what he wanted to say. "You're really enthusiastic. Brother Zhua and I have just come out and you're welcoming us so warmly. This Duan is a little overwhelmed by your favor." Duan Jipeng's eyes narrowed as he spoke coldly. Zhuowen, on the other hand, remained silent. He only looked coldly at the surrounding people, and there was no panic on his face. Seeing Zhuowen and Duan Jipeng's unhurried appearance, Su Zhou and Mo Fengyu and the others couldn't help but be puzzled. As far as they were concerned, Zhuowen and Duan Jipeng were already like turtles in a jar. What they wanted to see was the two of them kneeling on the ground and begging for their lives. Then they would obediently hand over the treasures they found in the tomb. "Brother Mo, Gongzi Su Zhou, no need to talk nonsense. Get to the point." The green-robed old man said somewhat unhappily. Mo Fengyu grinned, but his smile was somewhat cold. He looked down at Zhuowen and Duan Jipeng and said indifferently, "The two of you, I think you know very well why we have surrounded you. I think you've already explored the real tomb. You've already claimed it." Zhuowen revealed a look of surprise and said, "Senior Mo is joking, right? Back in the inner hall, wasn't the coffin already taken by Ziyu? What does that have to do with us?" Ziyu, who was standing behind Su Zhou, gritted her teeth in anger. Her face was red. This Zhuowen was really shameless. This guy probably already knew that it was a fake coffin. Back then, he was clearly trying to trick him. "Bastard, you're really shameless. That was a fake coffin. You still have the face to say that we took it." Ziyu said hatefully. Su Zhou said indifferently, "Brother Zhua, Don't pretend anymore. The coffin we got was fake, and we paid a great price for it. Lin Long and his wife also died because of it. As for you two, I haven't seen the two of you since we parted in the inner hall, and we searched the divine hall for several months, but couldn't find your figures. But you suddenly appeared here today. Clearly, you must have entered the real tomb. You must have also obtained quite a lot of opportunities. Mo phone you, snorted coldly. Now, you have no path to heaven and no door to hell. If you want to live, hand over your divine storage items, or die. As soon as Mo phone you finished speaking, his aura suddenly soared. Terrifying killing intent surged out like a tide. The surrounding cultivators also locked their killing intent onto Zhuowen and Duan Jipeng. Duan Jipeng narrowed his eyes and snorted coldly. A similarly powerful aura surged out and soared into the sky. It actually broke through the combined aura of Mo Fengyu and the other cultivators. Mo Fengyu's pupils shrank. He looked unnaturally at the terrifying Duan Jipeng and said in a low voice, You've transcended the great calamity of universe. As soon as these words came out, everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. They naturally knew what Mo Fengyu meant. Didn't that mean that Duan Jipeng had already condensed a cosmic dharma and become a supreme expert of cosmic dharma? If that was the case, then they were no match for this person. Even if so many of them joined forces, they were no match for a cosmic dharma. The difference was too great. No, he hasn't condensed a cosmic dharma. He should only be a beginner and has grasped a little of the laws of dharma. He's still a long way from condensing a cosmic dharma. Suzhou narrowed his eyes and suddenly spoke. Chapter 4159. Duan Jipeng glanced at Suzhou in surprise. He hadn't expected Suzhou, whose cultivation wasn't high, to be able to see something from him. However, what Suzhou didn't know was that he hadn't just grasped a little bit of the law of condensing the cosmic idol, but had grasped all the laws. In addition, Duan Jipeng had also absorbed all the essence of the laws left behind by Lu Yanhua's cosmic idol. If he wanted to condense the cosmic idol, it wouldn't be difficult at all. He just needed time. Suzhou's words made the originally nervous Mo Fengyu and the others heave a sigh of relief. Their expressions returned to normal as they stared greedily at Zhuowen and Duan Jipeng. Zhuowen frowned slightly. He looked around and realized that there were too many cultivators surrounding them. Although he had a lot of trump cards, he was now surrounded by so many cultivators. Moreover, there were true experts like Mo Fengyu, the green-robed elder, and Suzhou. It was likely that both sides would suffer. Zhuowen glanced at Duan Jipeng beside him. He couldn't see any nervousness from the latter, although he knew that Duan Jipeng had benefited a lot from Lu Yanhua's cosmic idol. He didn't know how much his strength had increased. Regardless of whether Brother Zhua and I have entered the real tomb or not, this tomb is an ownerless item. Whoever takes the treasure naturally has the ability to do so. Don't you have any morals by snatching it like this? Duan Jipeng said coldly. Morals? What a joke. If it weren't for us, you wouldn't even have the right to enter the Snowflame Valley. Now, you've taken the treasure of the tomb for yourselves, and you still have the nerve to talk about morals with us? Don't you think it's ridiculous? Mo Fengyu said angrily. In that case, let's fight. You guys can join forces. I'd like to see which one of you can snatch the treasure from my hands. Duan Jipeng waved his sleeve and didn't say anything else. Monstrous battle intent burst out from his eyes and soared into the sky. Zhuowen had planned to join the battle, but Duan Jipeng's voice transmission stopped him. Brother Zhua, leave everything here to me. Enter my Qinkuan world first. Duan Jipeng's voice was very serious. Zhuowen silently looked at the serious Duan Jipeng behind him. After thinking for a while, he nodded and entered Duan Jipeng's universe world. A terrifying pressure surged out from Duan Jipeng's body, and a huge universe world emerged from the void behind him. Except for the geniuses on the outer world heavenly list, All the cultivators below the great carefree realm were suppressed by this terrifying pressure. Their bodies stiffened, and it was difficult for them to move. Their eyes were filled with shock. What a terrifying pressure! Even a peak expert of the great calamity of heaven and earth would not be able to possess such a terrifying pressure. Mo Fayu, the green-robed elder, and the other experts of the great tribulation of Chien Kuan had ugly expressions, but they were no longer as fearful as before. Duan Jipeng was indeed stronger than the peak of the cosmic tribulation, but so what? As long as he did not condense a cosmic Dharma idol, they were not afraid at all. Let's get rid of him together! Mo Fengyu shouted and was the first to rush out. A terrifying aura surged out, and a huge Chien Kuan world phantom appeared behind him. At the same time, Mo Fayu grabbed at the void with his right hand, and a golden staff about 10 feet long appeared in his palm. He suddenly struck out with his right hand, and the staff shot out like lightning. It immediately transformed into countless staff shadows, like a tsunami, and blasted toward Duan Jipeng. Mo Fayu's attack seemed to have set off a chain reaction. The green-robed elder and the other experts of the great calamity of Chien Kuan also attacked, and they all summoned their own universe worlds. Because they all knew that Duan Jipeng might not be simple, they joined forces and attacked with all their strength, trying to defeat Duan Jipeng in the shortest time possible. The green-robed elder waved his sleeve, and a green formation appeared in the void. Green sword light burst out from the formation, and like a rainstorm, they blasted toward Duan Jipeng. The other experts of the great calamity of Chien Kuan also used their various magical powers. For a moment, multicolored light filled the entire purple flame divine mountain. Because it was too dazzling, even the sky was dyed multicolored. It looked very strange. The terrifying energy shock waves were like waves that filled the sky, sweeping out in all directions in a ring-shaped state. Puchi! Puchi! Many of the surrounding cultivators could not dodge in time and were hit by the shock waves. They all vomited blood and were sent flying. Some unlucky cultivators were even directly blown to smithereens because they were too close. Not even their bones remained. Suzhou and Ziyu did not attack. They strolled away from the battle group and stood on a mountain peak in the distance. They silently watched the terrifying collision that was unprecedented in history. At this moment, Fu Di, Jianshan, and the other geniuses of the outer realm heavenly ranking were silently following behind Suzhou and Ziyu. After Suzhou returned, he had become their leader again. Therefore, since Suzhou did not attack, they could not interfere. Although they were not weaker than ordinary cultivators of the great calamity of Chien Kuan, there are several peak experts of the great calamity of Chien Kuan in the battle group. If they interfered in a battle of this level, it would be harmful. Brother Suzhou, why aren't you attacking? With your strength, presumably, you also have the qualifications to compete with these people. Lai Rong said ambiguously. The black-robed elder beside Lai Rong, who was always by his side, was not here. He had already been sent to participate in the siege of Duan Jipeng. His strength was not particularly strong to begin with. In addition, his injuries had not completely healed, so it was impossible for him to participate in that terrifying battle group. However, Suzhou and Ziyu were different. They were both in the top 5 of the outer realm heavenly ranking. They were terrifying geniuses who could fight against peak experts of the great calamity of Chien Kuan. They were completely qualified to join that battle group. Do you really think that the man surnamed Duan beside Zhuowen is so easy to deal with? I only said half of the truth just now. This man surnamed Duan has yet to condense a cosmic Dharma idol, but his strength is infinitely close to it. He's an expert. Even with so many people attacking him, I'm afraid we might not be able to suppress him. Suzhou smiled faintly. What, Brother Suzhou, why didn't you say it earlier? Lai Rong frowned slightly. When the sandpiper and the clam fight, the fisherman benefits. If I said it earlier, how could I be the fisherman? Suzhou sneered. Lai Rong was rather angry. in order to snatch the treasures in the tomb. He had sent the black-robed elder who was in charge of protecting him. Now he realized that Suzhou had taken a chess piece that would cause both sides to suffer. How could he be happy? Thinking of this, Lai Rong wanted to secretly send a voice transmission to the black-robed elder and ask him to temporarily leave the battle group. Chapter 4160. Brother Lai Rong, this is a plan that we worked so hard to execute. We can't let it be ruined because of this. If you call back that old fellow, I can tell you with certainty that you'll be on your way before that old fellow returns. Ziyu looked coldly at Lai Rong. Those mysterious purple eyes were already filled with ferocious, killing intent. Seeing those purple eyes filled with killing intent, Lai Rong's body went soft. His original intention to send a message was immediately extinguished. He knew Ziyu's personality very well. She was a lunatic who kept her word. If he really sent a message to the black-robed elder, Ziyu would really kill him, regardless of whether he was a genius of the Niwa clan or not. After all, Ziyu's background was much greater than his. Even if she killed him, the Niwa clan might not necessarily stand up for him. Why should he do such a thankless thing? Lai Rong's expression was ugly. He stood silently to the side, his eyes filled with resentment. Hey, Lai Rong, you look like you're not convinced. Ziyu grinned at Lai Rong. Convinced? How can I not be convinced? Lai Rong said through gritted teeth. Boom! Suddenly, an extremely terrifying and earth-shattering explosion came from the distant battlefield. Invisible sound waves spread rapidly in all directions in the form of a ring. Many cultivators could not help but cover their ears, their faces filled with pain. Suzhou, Ziyu, and the others stood on a mountain peak and looked into the distance. They were all rather curious about the outcome of this extremely violent collision. Many cultivators subconsciously believed that Duan Jipeng was dead for sure. No matter how strong he was, how could he withstand the combined attacks of so many great tribulation experts? In the battle, the dazzling brilliance had already been annihilated. Then, an incomparably huge light figure appeared between heaven and earth. It was mighty and extraordinary. The light figure exuded an ancient and terrifying aura. On its surface, dense patterns of laws surged. It looked very solemn, and in the center of this light figure, Duan Jipeng stood tall with a calm expression. The dozen or so great tribulation experts who had been besieging Duan Jipeng under the lead of Mo Faiyu and the green-robed elder were all pushed back by the recoil. They were all in a very sorry state. Cosmic aspect? Didn't they say that this guy hadn't condensed his cosmic form yet? Why does he have a cosmic Dharma idol? Mo Fengyu was shocked. He stared in disbelief at the enormous light shadow that surrounded Duan Jipeng. The aura of this light figure was too vast. It was as boundless as the ocean. It was a cosmic form. However, upon closer inspection, one could see that this cosmic Laksana was slightly dim. Although its aura was terrifying, it was slightly ancient and did not seem as vigorous as a newly formed cosmic Laksana. Brother Suzhou, what's going on? He clearly hasn't condensed his cosmic form yet, so why did he use it? In the distant mountain peak, Ziyu's purple eyes were also shocked as she looked at the huge Dharma image in the distance. She was also in a daze. Suzhou frowned slightly, and he seemed to be lost in thought as he said, "This isn't his cosmic projection. I've seen a true cosmic projection, and it's one that's filled with vitality and spirit. However, this Dharma form was lifeless and dull. Clearly, it was obviously this cosmic projection is incomplete. Its true owner has already fallen." You mean that this cosmic projection was actually obtained by this person from the tomb, and it's also the cosmic projection of the tomb's owner? You blinked. It should be. Otherwise, a true cosmic projection would have been able to destroy all the other great tribulation experts in one blow, except for Mo Fengyu and the green-robed elder. Suzhou said indifferently, After Mo Fengyu and the green-robed elder had put some distance between them and observed for a while, they had also discovered some clues. This isn't his cosmic projection at all. It's much weaker than a true cosmic projection. Everyone, don't be afraid. If we join forces, we should be able to defeat him, Mo Fengyu shouted. After receiving Mo Fengyu's reminder, the originally timid experts also noticed that Duan Jipeng's cosmic projection was different. They all secretly heaved a sigh of relief. Then, under the leadership of Mo Fengyu and the green-robed elder, they once again joined forces to attack Duan Jipeng. This time, no one dared to be careless. They all took out their own trump cards. Duan Jipeng narrowed his eyes and took a step forward. The huge cosmic projection seemed to merge with him. It moved in unison with his step. Boom! The cosmic projection punched out with its right fist. The air exploded, space collapsed, and time reversed. With a single punch, the entire world seemed to tremble. Its power was terrifying. Mo Fengyu, the green-robed elder, and more than a dozen other great tribulation experts also used their own abilities and trump cards. Their attacks were also extraordinary. Boom! 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 The two sides once again clashed. More than a dozen figures flew around the huge cosmic projection, constantly launching their own attacks. Multicolored light was once again released around the cosmic projection. This time, because they had used their full strength, the cosmic projection was indeed somewhat affected. The light on its surface had also dimmed a little. Mo Fengyu, the green-robed elder, and the others were overjoyed to see this. They knew that the cosmic projection was not complete, and its power was not as terrifying as they had imagined. They had a chance to defeat it. Duan Jipeng narrowed his eyes, but he did not panic. He calmly controlled the cosmic projection. This cosmic projection was naturally Lu Yanhue's. He had absorbed the essence of the laws of Lu Yanhue's cosmic projection and was extremely familiar with the laws of Lu Yanhue's cosmic projection. He used the essence of the laws he had absorbed to create a temporary cosmic Dharma idol. However, this temporary cosmic projection was not his own. It was Lu Yanhue's cosmic projection, and it was an incomplete version. Its power could not be compared to the complete cosmic projection. Even so, it was still far more powerful than the peak experts of the Great Tribulation of Universe. In the beginning, Duan Jipeng was not familiar with the control of the cosmic projection, so he did not use its full power. This allowed Mo Fengyu and the others to take advantage of the loophole and fall into a disadvantage. However, as time passed, Duan Jipeng became more and more familiar with the cosmic projection. Finally, he could control it as if it was his own arm. Suddenly, the huge cosmic projection lifted its right foot and stomped down hard. Its speed was so fast that it took almost the blink of an eye. The two early Great Tribulation experts who had been secretly attacking the cosmic projection's foot had no time to dodge and were directly stomped down. These two pitiful early-stage universe tribulation experts didn't even have the chance to let out a scream before they were crushed into powder by this stomp. Even their souls were completely annihilated under the tearing of the laws. Hiss! Chapter 4161. Get out of the way. Mo Fengyu and the green-robed elder were the first to react. They shouted and quickly distanced themselves from the Dharma idol. After Mo Fengyu and the green-robed elder's shout, the other surviving experts of the Great Tribulation of Universe finally reacted. They immediately used their movement techniques to escape. You think you can come and go as you please? Do you really think I'm easy to bully? Duan Jipeng shook his head and sneered. He was extremely nimble, as if he had turned into a killing machine. The huge Dharma idol waved its four limbs and moved extremely quickly. In the blink of an eye, another 4 or 5 cultivators were either trampled to death or slapped to death. The unluckiest guy was directly grabbed by F.A. Xiang's hands and torn into 2 halves. Blood fell like rain, and it was very miserable. Among those who were killed, most were experts of the early and middle stages of the Great Tribulation of Universe. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Duan Jipeng and the green-robed elder landed in the air above a dense forest in the distance, looking warily at the Dharma idol that was on a killing spree. There were only 5 cultivators who had escaped with them, and all of them were at the late stage of the Great Tribulation of Universe or higher. Otherwise, the 3 of them might not have been able to escape. The 3 of them included Emo Liuhua and the black-robed elder who had been protecting Lai Rong. What a cunning guy! He deliberately pretended to be weak at the beginning so that we would take the bait and then kill us. Emo Fengyu was flustered and exasperated. Although this Dharma idol is incomplete, it's too powerful. It's not something we can deal with. Everyone, we won't keep you company. Of the 5 survivors, 3 of them were at the late stage of the Great Tribulation of Universe. They cupped their fists at Emo Fengyu and the others and left decisively. They didn't have a strong background, so it wasn't easy for them to cultivate to such a level. They didn't want to lose their lives here for nothing. For them, the gains didn't make up for the losses. In an instant, only 2 people were left with Emo Fengyu and the green-robed elder. They were Emo Liuhua and the black-robed elder. Emo Fengyu and the green-robed elder's expressions immediately turned ugly. They hadn't expected the final outcome to turn out like this. It was really beyond their expectations. However, they were very unwilling to let a cooked duck fly away. How could they be willing? But when they saw the Dharma idol not far away, their eyelids twitched and their hearts were full of dejection. Boom, boom, boom. Duan Jipeng strode forward, stopping when he was several dozen zhang away from Emo Fengyu and the others. Duan Jipeng's sharp gaze, and said indifferently, "Do you still want to fight? If you want to fight to the end, I'll keep you company." Emo Fengyu and the other 3 gnashed their teeth, their eyes filled with unwillingness. They did not withdraw their auras. Instead, they surged even more violently. "You too, of course. Fine, I'll grant to." Duan Jipeng's eyes shone with a sharp light as he strode towards Emo Fengyu and the green-robed elder. From the heavens of the Great Tribulation of the Great Die to the end of universe. Fight! Emo Fengyu shouted and took out a blood saber. The blade of the blood saber was 7 feet long, and the hilt was also 7 feet long. The entire saber was 14 feet long. Countless strange veins were drawn on the blade of the blood saber. These veins were like the meridians in the human body, pulsing rhythmically. This is the God-slaying blood saber, a rank 7 astral weapon fragment. It's extremely powerful. Rumor has it that when Emo Fengyu was in the late stage of the cosmic tribulation, he used this God-slaying blood saber to kill a peak expert of the cosmic tribulation. The green-robed elder looked at the blood saber in Emo Fengyu's hand in shock. He knew that this blood saber was the most precious treasure of the Witch God clan. For countless years, the Witch God clan had launched many realm wars against the nearby lower realms in order to worship this astral weapon. They had also used countless creatures from other realms as sacrifices to support this astral weapon. For this reason, the number of creatures that had died to this astral weapon was simply immeasurable. There were hundreds of millions of them. Elder Gu, you don't have to hide it. I also know that you also have a rank 7 astral weapon fragment. You've killed a lot of people in order to support that astral weapon of yours. After taking out the god-slaying blood saber, Emo Fengyu glanced at the green-robed elder and spoke calmly. The green-robed elder frowned slightly. He hadn't expected Emo Fengyu to know so much about him. He actually knew that he also had a rank 7 astral weapon fragment. Old friend, don't hesitate. If we can't defeat this person today, wouldn't all our efforts be in vain after we spent so much effort to break into this tomb? Are you willing to suffer a double loss? Emo Fengyu said with a frown. The green-robed elder smiled bitterly. Of course I'm not willing. Forget it. I'll just fight it out with you. After all, we can't return empty-handed. With that, The green-robed elder clenched his right hand. At some point, a wooden staff had appeared in his palm. The wooden staff's shape was uneven and twisted. It looked like an irregular wooden staff made of many twigs intertwined together. The wooden staff's appearance could be described as very ugly. The only thing worth noticing was that at the center of the semicircle at the top of the wooden staff, there was a pearl that flickered with gray light. The pearl released a gray light that would occasionally reveal all sorts of sinister ghost faces. It would also emit a terrifying howl that shook one's soul. Deadwood Ghost Staff? So that's in your hands. No wonder you've been hiding it all this time. Emo Fongyu chuckled as he looked at the wooden staff in the green-robed elder's hand. The green-robed elder's face was covered in frost. Emo Fongyu, cut the crap. Let's attack together. As long as we defeat this person, we'll split their belongings 50-50. Emo Fongyu frowned slightly. Although he felt that the green-robed elder was a little greedy, he didn't say anything. After all, he had to join forces with the green-robed elder now. 50-50 was considered fair. Blood tied against the heavens. Emo Fongyu wielded the enormous, god-slaying blood blade that was even longer than he was and slashed upwards. Instantly, a blood-colored blade light soared into the sky. At first, it was just a wisp of blood-colored light, but it grew more and more dazzling. In the blink of an eye, it dyed the entire sky. At this moment, it was as if the entire sky was filled with the color of blood. As the blood-colored light soared into the sky, the strong stench of blood instantly swept through the surroundings and disturbed the mind. Chapter 4162. Boom! The blood-red saber light that seemed to be able to cut down the sky finally collided with the huge palm. The terrifying aftershock of the collision made the entire world seem to collapse. Immediately after a short exchange, the blood-red saber light suddenly fell into a disadvantage. The terrifying blood-red light was immediately suppressed by the golden light. Elder Gu, what are you still hesitating about? Why aren't you attacking? Emo Fongyu grunted and suddenly shouted at the green-robed old man, who was hesitating beside him. The green-robed elder took a deep breath. Knowing that this was not the time to hesitate, he took out the withered wood ghost staff. The withered wood ghost staff left his hand and swept toward the huge palm of the Dharma idol in the sky. The pearl at the top of the staff released a strong gray light. The blazing gray light rolled and condensed together, revealing a sinister-looking shadow that was no weaker than the Dharma idol. At a closer look, this shadow was formed by many sinister-looking little ghosts. In the end, it became the all-powerful Great Ghost. The Great Ghost let out a shrill roar. It raised its hands, grabbed the suppressed blood saber, and suddenly raised it. The Dharma idol's right hand, which originally had an overwhelming advantage, was lifted by the combined power of the two rank 7 astral weapon fragments. It could no longer be pressed down. The Great Ghost stepped through the air. Its right hand pulled back, and the blood-red saber light formed by the god-slaying blood saber turned into its blood saber. It nimbly tangled with the Dharma idol. The shock waves caused by the battle between the two huge figures were extremely terrifying. The aftershock of each collision could cause the earth to crack, the sky to dim, and time to reverse. Many of the onlookers had no choice but to retreat far away because of this. They watched the battle between the two huge figures with fear in their eyes. In Duan Jipeng's Qingquan world, Zhuowen silently watched the combined power of the two rank 7 astral weapon fragments. He licked his lips and said, "Brother Duan, I want these two rank 7 astral weapon fragments. Can you take them?" Duan Jipeng was focused on dealing with the great ghost that was attacking with the blood saber. When he heard Zhuowen's words, he was slightly startled at first, and then nodded. He did not ask the reason. In his opinion, he was the one who had benefited the most from entering the tomb, but the one who had contributed the most was Zhuowen. Therefore, he had always felt guilty. Now, since Zhuowen wanted these two rank 7 astral weapon fragments, he naturally had to snatch them and give them to Zhuowen by any means. The huge Dharma idol's aura suddenly changed. Duan Jipeng originally wanted to play around, so he did not use his full strength. Now he didn't need to hide anymore. He directly pushed the power of the cosmic form to the maximum. Blazing golden light filled the Transcendence Avatar's body as the precepts began to circulate at an extremely fast speed. The power of the precepts that had been set off around it had also become much more terrifying. Under Duan Jipeng to the Dharma idol to S to the Dharma idol, to the great to the sky to the great to the idol idol idol. The great ghost was not to be outdone. It roared at the sky and slashed out the blood saber in its hand. It was not afraid of the Dharma idol's attack at all. Suddenly, the huge golden palm print and the blood saber collided again. This time, the scene of them being evenly matched did not repeat itself. The huge palm print smashed the blood saber into pieces and then slammed into the great ghost's chest. The great ghost screamed. Countless gray ghost faces on its huge body screamed in unison. Then, because these ghost faces felt a fatal threat, they quickly broke free and left the great ghost's body. The Dharma idol was expressionless. It lifted the great ghost and slammed its left hand in front of the great ghost. Each palm was filled with terrifying power, causing the great ghost to scream in fear. Shrill screams continued to be heard. The Dharma idol slammed out 7 palms with great momentum. The great ghost finally could not bear it and collapsed, turning into countless gray mist. In the middle of the gray mist, the withered wood ghost staff at its core revealed its true form. The Dharma idol picked up the withered wood ghost staff and threw it into Duan Jipeng's hands. Duan Jipeng chuckled and looked at the withered wood ghost staff in his hand, a trace of satisfaction in his eyes. After the Dharma idol finished off the great ghost, the blood saber that had been knocked to the ground wailed and turned into a beam of blood light, flying toward Mo Fengyu. Duan Jipeng sneered. He suddenly raised his foot, and the huge foot formed by countless laws stomped down heavily. The God-Slayer blood blade was stomped deep into the ground, and cracks appeared on the blade's surface. Puchi! After the withered wood ghost staff and the God-slaying blood saber were defeated by Duan Jipeng, Mo Fengyu and the green-robed elder, who were originally closely related to the 2 weapons, turned pale and vomited blood. They were suffering from the backlash of their respective star weapons. So he didn't use his full strength from the beginning. Mo Fengyu and the green-robed elder were shocked. Their eyes were filled with fear and unwillingness. Duan Jipeng chuckled and took the god-slaying blood saber out of the ground. At this moment, the god-slaying blood saber lying in the Dharma idol's hand trembled continuously. It was completely obedient and didn't dare to run anymore. Brother Zhua, you can have these 2 astral weapons. Duan Jipeng sent the 2 star weapons into the Qinkuan world. In the Qinkuan world, Zhuowen silently looked at the withered wood ghost staff and the god-slaying blood saber in front of him. These 2 star weapon fragments, which were originally arrogant and unruly, were now trembling obediently and didn't dare to resist at all. Zhuowen didn't stand on ceremony with Duan Jipeng. These 2 star weapon fragments were indeed very useful to him. After putting away the 2 star weapon fragments, he looked outside, still paying attention to Mo Fengyu and the others. At this moment, Mo Fengyu and the green-robed elder were seriously injured. Even their star weapon fragments had been taken away from them. This made their expressions very ugly. Mo Liuhua and the black-robed elder were both terrified. Duan Jipeng was really too terrifying. Mo Fengyu and the green-robed elder had taken out their rank 7-star weapon fragments and still weren't his match, let alone the 2 of them. Ancestor, are you all right? Mo Liuhua hurriedly went over to support the tottering Mo Fengyu and asked worriedly. Mo Fengyu waved his hand, but his expression was so gloomy that it could almost drip water. But more than that, it was fear. Do the 2 of you still want to fight? Duan Jipeng didn't press the advantage. Instead, he hovered in the Dharma idol and looked down at Mo Fengyu and the green-robed elder. Although his gaze was focused on Mo Fengyu, his divine consciousness carried a terrifying pressure that spread out in all directions. In the distance, the cultivators hiding in the dark all felt Duan Jipeng's display of power and trembled all over. The last bit of hope in their hearts disappeared. Mo Fengyu and the green-robed elder were the representatives of this group, representing their highest battle strength. Moreover, these two had even taken out their rank 7-star weapon fragments, but they were still easily crushed by Duan Jipeng. Chapter 4163. Damn, it won't end like this, will it? Ziyu was dumbfounded. He was also shocked by Duan Jipeng's sudden display of power. More than a dozen Great Tribulation experts had joined forces, but they had been defeated just like that. More than half of them had been killed, including Mo Fengyu and the green-robed elder. Even when he had played all his cards, he was still easily crushed. Su Zhou sighed lightly and said, "The outcome has been decided. I never expected that man surnamed Duan's comprehension ability would be so high. He was actually able to control the cosmic phenomenon of the Tomb Master so skillfully in such a short period of time." "Brother Su Zhou, you mean that we don't have any chance?" Ziyu asked tentatively. Su Zhou shrugged and said, "You're right, we really don't have a chance. Unless you call those old fellows from your clan over to support you. You might be able to snatch it." Ziyu smiled embarrassedly. "Su Zhou, you must be joking. If I tell this to those old fellows in the clan, not only will they not help me, but they will also laugh at me, thinking that I even went to such a low-level place as the Tomb of the Universal Law. This was too degrading. Then wouldn't my reputation be ruined?" Su Zhou faintly smiled. He and you were both Heaven's favored children and had their own pride. Although the forces behind each of them were extremely powerful, they would never easily rely on the power of their respective forces. After all, a young eagle that grew up under protection would be unable to become successful in the end. Only by experiencing true tempering would it be able to temper a pair of truly solid and reliable wings and freely soar above the 9 heavens. What should we do next? Are we just going to leave here empty-handed? Ziyu said somewhat uninterestedly. Of course not. I'm very interested in Zhuowen. Back when he was only at the late ancient star transformation stage, he wasn't any weaker than me. Even the guy who ranked first on the Heaven Domain list didn't have such potential. As far as I know, Zhuowen's potential is comparable to that of the original. He must be the guy who caused a sensation on the outer realm, heavenly ranking. Su Zhou narrowed his eyes and muttered to himself. Brother Su Zhou, are you talking about Sakyamuni? You think too highly of this Zhuowen. He can't be compared to Sakyamuni. He was simply a monster. It's unprecedented and will never be replicated. Ziyu frowned. These two geniuses who were ranked in the top 5 of the Outer Realm leaderboard could not help but feel heavy pressure whenever they thought of Sakyamuni's name. Back then, this name was like a dazzling star rising among the younger generation in the Outer Realm. He had only used 3 days to ascend to first place on the Outer Realm heavenly ranking because he had consecutively challenged the top 3 powerhouses on the Outer Realm heavenly ranking, defeating 1 person in 1 day and 3 in 3 days. Since then, he had become the undisputed number 1 genius on the Outer Realm heavenly ranking. It was said that even the archaic Heavenly Tao Academy was alarmed because of this. Many old fellows were paying close attention to this new rising star, and they frequently extended olive branches. What was even more shocking was Sakyamuni's cultivation speed. He had only been ranked first on the World Beyond Realms heavenly list for less than half a year before he disappeared from the list. There were only 2 reasons for disappearing from the list. One was that he had been defeated and his ranking had been replaced. The second was that he had broken through to the great carefree realm and was automatically erased from the list. Sakyamuni had obviously not been defeated. He had broken through and smoothly entered the great carefree realm. He automatically left the outer realm heavenly ranking. Su Zhou remembered that this was only 3 years ago. With Sakyamana's terrifying cultivation speed, his cultivation might have gone even further now. He was far ahead of them, the so-called geniuses who were still stuck at the peak of Gushing. This was also why Zi was so surprised when she learned that Su Zhou had compared Zhuowen to the naughty Shiva. In Ziyu's eyes, Sakyamuni was definitely the strongest genius in the history of the Outer Realm Heavenly List. It was almost impossible for his peers to surpass him. He had already become a legend on the Outer Realm Heavenly List and was irreplaceable. Su Zhou smiled faintly. I have seen Sakyamuni once. I can feel that this child's eyes are similar to Sakyamuni's in some sense. In addition, he is indeed powerful and extraordinary. That's why I compared him to Sakyamuni. Of course, the gap between him and Sakyamuni is not small. I only said that he has the potential. Why are you so anxious? Ziyu froze for a moment. Her face was slightly red. She muttered, so that's how it is. If that's the case, then I'm relieved. Come with me to meet them. Maybe we can have a chance to cooperate with them. Su Zhou said unfathomably. Ziyu did not think too deeply about Su Zhou's words. She curled her lips and followed behind Su Zhou. At this moment, Zhuowen had already walked out of Duan Jipeng's Qinquan world. He stood side by side with Duan Jipeng in front of Mo Fengyu and the green-robed elder. Mo Fengyu and the green-robed elder were both in a very sorry state. They looked at Zhuowen and Duan Jipeng in horror. They were no longer as aggressive as they were at the beginning. The two of you, we were rude before. This Mo apologizes to the two of you. To everyone's surprise, Mo Fengyu very straightforwardly bowed deeply to Zhuowen and Duan Jipeng, his expression sincere. Zhuowen looked at Mo Fengyu. He thought that this old fellow was really flexible. At the beginning, he was the most aggressive in shouting to kill. Now that he had already lost, he was even so straightforward in apologizing. His scheming was really deep. Many members of the Wushan clan also came forward. They followed Mo Fengyu and Mo Liuhua and knelt down to apologize to Duan Jipeng and Zhuowen. The green-robed elder smiled bitterly. He also knew that the winner was the king and the loser was the bandit. He sighed deeply and also bowed to apologize, hoping that they could forgive his rude behavior. Zhuowen smiled and said, "The two of you, we can talk about this. After all, the two of you have given us 2 pieces of a tier 7-star weapon as an apology gift. If we still don't forgive you, we will be asking for a yard after taking an inch." Mo Fengyu and the green-robed elder's expressions immediately turned ugly. They had originally planned to give in and pay a price to get their pieces back from Duan Jipeng. After all, a tier 7-star weapon fragment was actually a clan treasure to them and could not be easily lost. But Zhuowen's words had stopped them from asking for the tier 7-star weapon fragment back. The two of you don't look too good. Are you not satisfied with my proposal? Zhuowen smiled faintly. No, little brother Zhuo is right. The tier 7-star weapon fragment is indeed our apology gift. Mo Fengyu hurriedly said. The green-robed elder also had no objections. They could only grit their teeth and swallow it. While Duan Jipeng was talking to the green-robed elder and Mo Fengyu, the black-robed elder frowned slightly. He slowly retreated, planning to leave. Chapter 4164. Where do you think you're going? Duan Jipeng looked indifferently at the black-robed elder. The black-robed elder hurriedly cupped his hands towards Duan Jipeng and said in a low voice, "Sir, what else do you want? I am from the Niwa clan. You can't afford to offend me." Duan Jipeng laughed loudly, but his gaze grew colder. The Niwa clan? I can't afford to offend you? Are you threatening me? Duan Jipeng said sinisterly. The black-robed elder frowned and said, I'm not threatening you. I'm just reminding you. Although we had some misunderstandings before, now that the misunderstanding has been resolved, we don't owe each other anything. I'll take my leave first. The black-robed elder clearly didn't want to stay in front of Duan Jipeng for long. After he finished speaking, he he sped up his retreat. However, the black-robed elder's expression changed drastically. An enormous palm that radiated blazing golden light swept through the air and smashed heavily towards the black-robed elder. Yub! The black-robed elder was furious. He immediately summoned his universe world, and waves of terrifying tribulation energy surged out. At the same time, he summoned his life artifact, a halberd that flickered with purple lightning. Boom! The golden palm that contained numerous laws and grand daos smashed down like a mountain. Then the black-robed elder was shocked to discover that his universe world had been directly torn apart, and then his life artifact had been shattered. Pucci! The black-robed elder spat out a mouthful of blood and knelt on the ground. The energy in his body surged as he raised his hands to the sky, barely resisting the palm. However, from his increasingly pale face, it could be seen that he probably wouldn't be able to hold on for long. Duan Jipeng put his hands behind his back and coldly glanced at the black-robed elder who was struggling on the verge of death. He said indifferently, "Can you leave without my permission?" At this moment, Su Zhou and Ziyu flew over. They didn't even look at the black-robed elder. Instead, they looked at Duan Jipeng and Zhuowen. "Brother Duan, Brother Zhua, what a good move. Even I was tricked by you. This time, I accept my defeat wholeheartedly." Su Zhou shook his head and smiled bitterly. "Brother Su Zhou is too polite. We just stumbled upon it by accident. Brother Su Zhou, on the other hand, came up with a lot of strategies that made us tired of dealing with them. We are the ones who are sincerely convinced by you." Su Zhou and Ziyu's backgrounds weren't weak. The two of them didn't seem to have any ill intentions, so Zhuan naturally wouldn't give them any face. Of course, if the two of them really tried to rob him like Mo Fengyu and the others, he would not be polite either. He would retaliate in kind. Duan Jipeng looked at Su Zhou and Ziyu with a trace of vigilance. However, his attitude was much better than Mo Fengyu's. After all, Su and Ziyu, they've have you and S there and they re-rees. Base. S mean, there have to have riri. Habs have they haves. Are they? If they really wanted to join in the fight, even Duan Jipeng would have a headache. Su Zhou shook his head. He didn't care about Zhuan's compliments. Just as he was about to speak, an angry voice came from behind him. "You're too presumptuous. How dare you suppress my Nua clan? Now let go of my people." Lai Rong had also come over. He was very dissatisfied with Duan Jipeng suppressing the black-robed elder, so he berated him. "Sorry, not only do we dare to suppress your Nua clan, but we also dare to kill you." Zhuan's eyes were filled with murderous intent. Duan Jipeng grinned. He suddenly stomped his right foot. The giant Dharma idol lifted its foot and stomped on the black-robed elder. The black-robed old man, who had been having a hard time resisting the attack of the Fa Xiang's palm, was ruthlessly stomped by the sole of the foot. He completely lost the ability to resist, and with a miserable cry, he was ruthlessly pressed to the ground by the sole of the foot. Boom! Boom! The gigantic foot was lifted and brought down again. It actually stomped on the black-robed old man's body 3 times. At first, the black-robed elder still screamed, but there was no sound after that. When the Dharma idol lifted its foot, there was a huge hole in the ground. There was a pool of blood in the hole, a ghastly sight. When everyone saw the pool of blood, they were all terrified. How could they not know that the pool of blood belonged to the black-robed elder? There was no doubt that the latter had been stomped to the ground. Even his soul had not been able to escape. Lai Rong was also shocked by Duan Jipeng's ruthless methods. His mouth was wide open as he stared at the expressionless Duan Jipeng in disbelief. A chill rushed from the bottom of his feet to his head. These 2 guys were really too lawless. They clearly knew that they were from the Nua clan, but they still dared to kill them. Mo Fengyu and the green-robed elder trembled in fear at this scene. They knelt on the ground again, not even daring to raise their heads. they were only people from a lower realm, while the black-robed elder was from a higher realm. If the Nua clan could kill him without any hesitation, if Duan Jipeng wanted to kill them, he would not show any mercy. Now, they were praying that Duan Jipeng would not vent his anger on them and spare their lives. However, they did not know that Duan Jipeng and the Nua clan already had a life-and-death grudge. Duan Jipeng had wanted to kill Lai Rong and the black-robed elder for a long time, but he had never found the opportunity. Now that Lai Rong and the black-robed elder had delivered themselves to his doorstep, he naturally would not let them go. He's already dead. Now it's your turn. Duan Jipeng slowly turned his head, his eyes filled with killing intent as he stared at Lai Rong. Lai Rong had a bad feeling. He wanted to run, but his legs were already trembling in fear. He actually froze on the spot for a moment. Duan Jipeng naturally did not care about what Lai Rong was doing. He had already struck out with his palm. The giant Dharma idol's mountainous palm descended from the sky and completely covered Lai Rong's body. Lai Rong did not even have the chance to scream before his soul was scattered by the Dharma idol's palm. He died without a burial place. After killing Lai Rong and the black-robed elder, Duan Jipeng withdrew his hand. He looked at the stiff Su Zhou and Ziyu and said heartily, "I've embarrassed myself. I've neglected the two Gongzi by killing two people who were in the way." Su Zhou and Ziyu waved their hands, but their expressions became much more serious. "May I know why the two of you have come to find us?" Zhuowen's gaze fell on Su Zhou as he suddenly asked. He was very clear that Su Zhou and Ziyu were true top geniuses on the outer realm, heavenly ranking, and had their own pride. He really did not believe that the two of them had come here specifically to befriend them. The two of them definitely had their own goals. Ziyu pursed her lips. She was a little unhappy with Zhuowen's attitude, but she did not say anything. She just looked at Su Zhou. Chapter 4165. Why can't I understand what you're saying, Sir Su Zhou? I really didn't find the map fragment you mentioned in Lu Yan's tomb. Zhuowen said calmly. Su Zhou smiled slightly, as if victory was within his grasp. Brother Zhua, let's not beat around the bush. I'll be honest with you. I also have a remnant map of the ruins with me. You have to know that after the map fragment of the ruins was torn apart, it was scattered everywhere. Sir Su Zhou, with just one map fragment, I might not be able to find the exact location of the ruins and the way to enter it. When he spoke up to here, Su Zhou glanced at Zhuowen, who had an indeterminate expression on his face, and he continued, Brother Zhua, you're a smart person, and you're able to discern that with my identity, there's utterly no need for me to risk my life and fight for a tomb with all of you. To put it bluntly, I'm not even interested in the treasures of a cosmic Loxana expert, let alone the tomb of a cosmic Loxana expert. Zhuowen frowned slightly and said in a deep voice, So, young Master Su Zhou, you came all the way to the divine Magus realm and joined the battle for the tomb, all for the sake of that map fragment. Su Zhou nodded and said frankly, Brother Zhua, your strength and talent have caught my eye. This time I was indeed one step behind, and I accept my loss wholeheartedly. You don't have to worry about me snatching the map fragment from you. No matter what, my background is not good. It was impossible for Fan to do such a thing. I just want to cooperate with Brother Zhua. Of course, before we cooperate, I have to remind Brother Zhua that the map fragment you have is very troublesome. Once outsiders find out about it, there will be a lot of trouble. Lu Yan is a good example. If Brother Zhua knows that he can't protect the map fragment, you can also make a deal with me. I will naturally give you a satisfactory price. Zhuowen smiled faintly. I'm not interested in a deal, but I'm interested in the cooperation you mentioned. If young Master Su Zhou sincerely wishes to cooperate, then this Zhua may not refuse. Zhuowen knew that he could not hide the matter of the map fragment from Su Zhou, so he openly admitted it. Su Zhou was right. It was indeed very difficult for him to find the ruins, since he only had a single map fragment. On the other hand, if Su Zhou had the other map fragment, then cooperating with him wasn't a bad idea. A wisp of a smile appeared on the corners of Su Zhou's mouth, and he laughed loudly as he patted Zhuowen on the shoulder and said, "Then let's have a pleasant cooperation." Ziyu was a little puzzled as she looked at Su Zhou and Zhuowen, who had unknowingly put their arms around each other's shoulders. These two fellows' relationship had risen a little too quickly. However, his heart was filled with shock. How could he not have heard of the ruins that Su Zhou spoke of? That place was a treasure land that many cosmic manifestations coveted. Even those old fellows with the cultivation of Ni Gu Starlight coveted it. However, the remains were simply too mysterious. For countless years, no one had been able to find the entrance to the remains. There was only a rumor that said, "If you want to enter the remains, you must first obtain the map." He knew that Su Zhou possessed a fragment of the map of the ruins, but he did not know that there was actually another fragment of the map in the tomb of the unknown Magus god world. With Ziyu's status, she wouldn't care about what happened in a low-level realm like the Wu God realm. It was even more impossible for her to travel thousands of miles to participate in the so-called tomb battle. Wasn't the reason why she came here because Su Zhou was here? Su Zhou was full of sinister tricks. If he made a move, he must have an ulterior motive. That was why Ziyu condescended to come to the Wu God realm and enter the tomb with a group of rogue cultivators and low-level realm cultivators to search for treasures. As expected, Su Zhou did not disappoint him. He came to this tomb with a strong purpose, and there was actually another incomplete map of the ruins inside. The battle for the tomb had come to an end. The group of cultivators who had originally planned to take advantage of Duan Jipeng and Zhuowen all left dejectedly after knowing that the outcome had been decided. They knew that there was no chance left, so they weren't willing to go against Duan Jipeng like moths to a flame and lose their lives in vain. Emo, Faiyu, Emoliohua, and the green-robed elder were still kneeling in front of Duan Jipeng. They lowered their heads, not daring to look at Duan Jipeng. If Duan Jipeng didn't let them get up, they really didn't dare to get up. After all, Duan Jipeng was a madman who dared to casually kill Lai Rong of the Niwa clan. They didn't dare to provoke him. Zhuowen and Su Zhou chatted happily for a while. Then Zhuowen looked at Emo Faiyu and the others who were still kneeling on the ground. "Brother Duan, you can let them get up now," Zhuowen said. Duan Jipeng nodded and dispersed his Dharma projection to let Emo Faiyu and the others get up. Emo Faiyu and the others hurriedly expressed their gratitude. Their eyes filled with gratitude. This was especially true for Lu Yingying. She looked at Zhuowen with a complicated expression. She never thought that the Battle of the Tombs would end in such a way. It was truly beyond her expectations. "Brother Zhua, how do you want to deal with these people?" To Emo Faiyu and the others' shock, Duan Jipeng actually turned to Zhuowen rather politely and asked Zhuowen for his opinion on how to deal with them. Instantly, Emo Faiyu, the green-robed elder, Lu Yingying, and the others all looked at Zhuowen anxiously, their eyes filled with unease. If Zhuowen said a sentence to directly kill them, perhaps Duan Jipeng would really go on a killing spree. All you need to do is swear an oath to the heavenly Tao that you will never go against Brother Duan and me, and your lives won't be in danger. Zhuowen said with a smile. Emo, Faiyu, and the others were startled, then hurriedly swore an oath to the heavenly Tao and bowed to Zhuowen. "That's right. My master, Shan Lingyun, is still in Sorcerer God City. When I return to Sorcerer God City, I will go to Sorcerer God City to see her. I don't think you will stop me this time," Zhuowen said indifferently. Emo Faiyu and the others wiped the sweat from their foreheads and glared fiercely at Lu Yingying. They hurriedly said, "How would we dare to stop young Master Zhua? If anyone dares to stop me, I will be the first to kill them." Lu Yingying trembled in fear. She naturally heard the warning in Emo Faiyu's words, and a trace of regret and bitterness appeared in her heart for no reason. Zhuowen just smiled and didn't say anything. Next, Zhuowen, Duan Jipeng, Su Zhou, and the others returned to Sorcerer God City. Mo Fayu and the others followed behind them respectfully, not daring to act rashly. After returning to Sorcerer God City, Mo Fayu hurriedly invited them into Sorcerer God City. However, Zhuowen, Su Zhou, and the others did not plan to enter Sorcerer God City. This made Mo Fayu breathe a sigh of relief. Speaking of which, although he did not dare to offend Duan Jipeng, he did not want them to enter Sorcerer God City so openly. Chapter 4166. On the balcony of a luxurious inn, Zhuowen silently watched the departing figures of Mo Fengyu, the green-robed elder, and the rest. Mo Fengyu and the rest are in a dilemma. They don't dare to offend you, much less the Nuwa clan. Now, they're in a difficult situation. Su Zhou came to Zhuowen's side and watched Mo Fengyu's departing group. He smiled faintly. That's why I didn't make things difficult for them. At the same time, I reminded them of my relationship with Shan Lingyun. I'm sure they won't dare to disrespect my master in the holy witch city. Zhuowen said indifferently. Su Zhou smiled and said playfully, Brother Zhua, I think the Nuwa clan will soon receive news that you've killed Lai Rong. How do you plan to deal with the Nuwa clan's revenge? Zhuowen looked at Su Zhou with a faint smile. Brother Su Zhou, you and I are now partners. We should treat each other with sincerity, right? Can't you help me cover up the matter with the Nuwa clan? Zhuowen knew that Su Zhou had an extraordinary background. Perhaps Su Zhou could help him cover up the fact that they were the murderers of Lai Rong. That would save him a lot of trouble. Su Zhou shook his head. Brother Zhua, we haven't even started working together, and you're already thinking of using me. Aren't you being a little too greedy? I can help you cover up the fact that you killed Lai Rong, but why should I help you? You do have the map fragment that I need, but you have to know your limits. I'm working with you because you have a map fragment, but that doesn't mean that it doesn't mean anything. But that doesn't mean that I need to help you with everything. Also, Brother Zio and I will be leaving the witchcraft realm tomorrow and returning to our realm. I hope that Brother Zhua can protect the map fragment in your hands during this period of time. If it falls into someone else's hands, then we won't have it. There's a need for cooperation. With that, Su Zhou returned to the inn. Zhuowen frowned and said with a self-deprecating smile, It seems that I thought myself clever. Su Zhou was much smarter than he had imagined. It was impossible for him to use Su Zhou for a mere map fragment. The next day, Su Zhou and Ziyu bid farewell to Zhuowen and left the witch god realm. Inside the inn, Zhuowen and Duan Jipeng sat opposite each other. Brother Zhua, I need to go into seclusion for a while to condense my cosmic form. I need to find a secluded place. It's best that we don't stay in the divine witch realm. Duan Jipeng said to Zhuowen in a serious tone. Zhuowen nodded and hesitated for a moment before he said, Brother Duan, wait for me for a day. Some of my friends are still in Shaman City, and I want to bring them out as well. After you make the breakthrough, I'm going to the Nuwa realm to find someone. Duan Jipeng nodded. He already knew that Zhuowen's purpose was to go to the 7 Emotions and 6 Desires Mountain in the Nuwa realm to find Moyan Wushang. After I make the breakthrough, I'll go with you. I won't be at ease if you go to the Nuwa realm alone. Duan Jipeng smiled. Zhuowen was startled. Then his gaze softened a lot. He nodded and said, Then I'll have to trouble you, Brother Duan. Duan Jipeng laughed and said, With our relationship, there's no need to be so polite. Inside Shaman City, Mo Fengyu stood in the depths of a magnificent palace, holding a communication jade talisman in his hand. Ancestor, why have you called us here? Mo Liuhua and Lu Yingying walked in from outside the palace. Mo Fengyu had urgently summoned them, which made them very puzzled. Zhuowen plans to take Shan Lingyun and the other Hushu tribesmen away. Mo Fengyu said in a low voice. Mo Liuhua didn't care and said, These Hushu tribesmen are doing nothing in our Shaman City and wasting our resources. If Zhuowen wants to take them away, it'll save us a lot of trouble. Lu Yingying frowned. She wanted to ask them to stay, but when she thought of her own status, she could only purse her lips and say nothing. But the Nua clan has also sent me a message, asking us to try our best to stall Zhuowin and the others. As long as we do well, the Nua clan will reward us handsomely. Mo Fingyo's eyes flickered. This. Mo Liuhua hesitated. That might not be appropriate. Ancestor, the man with the surname Duan beside Zhuowin, has unfathomable strength. If we anger him, I'm afraid it won't be good, Lu Yingying said hesitantly. Mo Fengyu was silent for a moment, and a trace of hesitation flashed in his eyes. He said in a low voice, "But we can't afford to offend the Nua clan. Ancestor, how long will it take for the Nua clan to come here?" Mo Liuhua suddenly asked. "About 10 days. Mo Fengyu smiled bitterly. 10 days is too long. We can't delay Zhuowin for that long. In my opinion, the best choice is to stay out of it," Mo Liuhua said in a low voice. Mo Fengyu was silent for a moment, and then sighed. "You're right. We can't afford to offend either Zhuowin or the Nua clan. The best way is to stay out of it. Yingying, you'll be in charge of the Hushu clan. Try to get Zhuowin to leave the Divine Witch realm as soon as possible. Try not to spread the flames of war to the Divine Witch realm." After saying that, Mo Fengyu waved his sleeves, sighed, and entered the deepest part of the palace. Mo Liuhua and Lu Yingying looked at each other and smiled bitterly. It seemed that this was the only choice they had now. Zhuowin and Duan Jipeng left Divine Witch City and came to the forest in front of the endless mountains behind Divine Witch City. Zhuowin had contacted Mo Fengyu long ago, and Mo Fengyu guided them to this forest. They would bring Shan Lingyun and the other Hushu clan members to meet up with him here. Zhuowin and Duan Jipeng didn't have to wait for long before they discovered that a huge circle of light had appeared in the sky above the forest. Many figures appeared in the circle of light. Among the many figures, the leader was a young woman with a graceful figure. Beside this young woman was a little loli with an exquisite face that looked like it was carved from jade. Zhuowin first looked at the young lady with a graceful figure. He naturally recognized that this young lady was Shan Lingyun's aunt, Lu Yingying. However, Zhuowin didn't give Lu Yingying any face. His gaze was indifferent. However, when his gaze landed on the little loli beside Lu Yingying, the corners of his mouth curled into a rather happy smile. "Master!" Zhuowin looked at the little girl and called out with a smile. The moment the little girl saw Zhuowin, she broke free from Lu Yingying and rushed into Zhuowin's arms. Lu Yingying looked at the little girl who was interacting with Zhuowin, and the complicated look in her eyes became even more intense. A bitter smile appeared on her face. Chapter 4167. Senior Zhuo. While Zhuowin and Shan Lingyun were getting along well, Sa Mei and Tuo Sheng brought a group of Hushu tribesmen over. Actually, they were quite confused because Lu Yingying suddenly came to inform them that Zhuowin was going to bring them away from the Witchcraft clan. Speaking of which, they had just arrived at the Witchcraft clan, and Zhuowin suddenly wanted to bring them away. Naturally, they were full of doubts. However, they instinctively trusted Zhuowin and did not ask any questions. They simply followed Lu Yingying out. Zhuowin smiled warmly at Sa Mei and Tuo Sheng and said, "You won't blame me for suddenly saying that I want to bring you away, right?" Sa Mei and Tuo Sheng quickly shook their heads. How could they blame Zhuowin? In their eyes, Zhuowin was their savior. They would not hesitate to do anything Zhuowin wanted them to do. Shan Lingyun pursed her lips and asked, "Disciple, what are you up to now?" Zhuowin's gaze turned serious. He said in a low voice, "I offended the Nua clan. They will come to the witchcraft domain very soon. In order not to implicate you, I plan to bring you away from here first. Also, this person beside me is called Duan Jipeng. He is my best friend. He will be able to condense the cosmic image very soon. When he comes out of seclusion, I will help you take back the Hushu domain and take revenge for the annihilation of your clan." Shan Lingyun was stunned. Then she looked at Duan Jipeng, who was beside Zhuowen in shock. She did not expect that Zhuowen would actually make such a powerful friend in just a short period of time. Duan Jipeng smiled warmly at Shan Lingyun. He did not put on the airs of an expert. When the Hushu tribesmen behind heard about Duan Jipeng's cultivation, they were all excited. He was an expert with the cosmic image. This was an expert that could only be found in mid-tier domains and above. Such an expert could easily destroy an expert with a wave of his hand. If Duan Jipeng could successfully condense the cosmic image, not only would he be able to take back the Hushu domain, but he would also be able to take over the Goldwater domain, Divine Eye domain, and Purple Illusion domain. "Senior Lu, I'll have to trouble you this time. I'll take the Hushu tribesmen with me." Zhuowen waved his sleeve and summoned a huge divine ship. His gaze fell on Lu Yingying, who was hovering alone in midair not far away. Lu Yingying smiled bitterly and said, "Young Master Zhuo, I wish you a pleasant journey. Also, I hope you can forgive me for my lack of hospitality during this period of time." Zhuowen shook his head and glanced at Shan Lingyun, who had suddenly become silent. He could clearly feel that the little lowly beside him was estranged from Lu Yingying. Even though she was about to leave now, she had no intention of saying goodbye to her. Once all the Hushu people had boarded, Zhuowen steered the divine ship into the distance. In the blink of an eye, it had turned into a faint speck of light. Lu Yingying looked at the light spot that had disappeared into the distance, and a bitter smile appeared on her face. This was especially so when Shan Lingyun did not bid farewell to her in the end. This caused her to feel rather disappointed. "Brother Zhuo, we don't have to leave the witch realm. We just need to settle down in the most remote place in the witch realm and cultivate in seclusion," Duan Jipeng suddenly suggested not long after the divine ship had left. Zhuowen was stunned and revealed a trace of hesitation. "Brother Duan, after the Nuwa clan people arrive at the witch realm, they will definitely send people from the witch realm to search the entire realm. If we continue to stay in the witch realm, we might," Duan Jipeng said confidently. "Brother Zhuo, have you forgotten about my astral weapon, the Dark Chakra Eye? Back then, I could use the Dark Chakra Eye to conceal Venerable Hong Rui's death aura and prevent the Nuwa clan from tracking us for 10,000 years. As long as we hide, no one will be able to find us even in the witch realm. Moreover, Mo Fengyu is a wily old fox. He's a smooth talker. After we leave, he'll definitely leak the news to the Nuwa clan as soon as possible. At that time, if we really leave the domain of the gods of shamans, it's very likely that we'll encounter the Nuwa clan. That's not something I want to encounter." Zhuowen was shocked to hear this. Duan Jipeng's analysis was reasonable. Mo Fengyu was indeed unreliable, and Duan Jipeng's dark chakra Eye was truly miraculous. Zhuowen thought for a moment, then agreed to Duan Jipeng's suggestion. Although the Hushu clan people had become friends with Zhuowen on the divine ship, they all had an indescribable respect for Duan Jipeng and didn't dare to interact with him. Duan Jipeng didn't care about this. He wasn't familiar with the Hushu clan in the first place. The reason he had agreed to help Zhuowen go to the Hushu realm after he emerged from seclusion was mainly because of Zhuowen. The divine ship headed south as fast as lightning. After about a month, they arrived at an extremely remote area in the southern part of the witch realm. They found a mountain range that was shrouded in clouds all year round. Duan Jipeng built a cave residence in the depths of the mountain range and started to cultivate in seclusion. He planned to condense his cosmic form. Of course, before he started, Duan Jipeng also used his dark chakra Eye to cover up the aura in the area. As for Zhuowen, he moved Flowing Flame's white jade palace out of the large world and placed it near Duan Jipeng's abode. When the Hushu clan people were brought into the white jade palace by Zhuowen, they were completely shocked. This was because the chaotic energy in the white jade palace was just too dense. When they saw the many precious cultivation resources inside, they were completely dumbfounded. "Disciple, where did you get so many resources?" Shan Lingyun quietly pulled Zhuowen aside and asked nervously. Shan Lingyun couldn't help but be shocked. The resources in the White Jade Palace probably far exceeded the total amount of resources that Huxley had when he was at his peak. She knew that Zhuowen was rich, but she didn't expect him to be this rich. This was really beyond her expectations. Zhuowen didn't hide anything from Shan Lingyun. He told her about the battle at Lu Yenji's grave and dispelled the doubts in Shan Lingyun's heart. "Senior brother Zhuo, there are so many resources. Are you really willing to let us cultivate?" Sa Mei walked to Zhuowen's side uneasily and asked softly. Zhuowen looked over and saw many Hushu clan people standing behind Sa Mei. They were all looking at Zhuowen uneasily. Obviously, they were still a little uneasy about directly cultivating with these resources. "Don't worry. Since I let you in, I naturally intend to let you cultivate. Don't you want to contribute to taking back the Hushu realm? If you don't have enough power, how can you take back your home?" Zhuowen smiled warmly. Speaking of which, the cultivation resources in the White Jade Palace were all left over from Zhuowen's cultivation. Most of the resources had already been used by him. Chapter 4168. After getting Zhuowen's promise, Shan Lingyun and the rest happily found a suitable spot in the White Jade Palace and started to cultivate. It seems that if I want to break through again, I have to find a relic and obtain a greater opportunity, or go to the extraterritorial battlefield. Zhuowen mumbled to himself as he watched Shan Lingyun and the rest leave. While Zhuowen and the rest were cultivating in seclusion, a group of uninvited guests came to the Witch God world. On this day, countless cultivators in the Witch God city raised their heads and looked at the northern sky. Then they were shocked to find that at the end of the sky, streaks of flowing light were shooting towards them at the speed of an arrow. Following that, an extremely terrifying aura and oppressive aura spread out in all directions. In the Witch God city, all the cultivators' pupils shrank. Some of the weaker cultivators were even severely injured and spat out a mouthful of blood. Their faces turned extremely pale. Swoosh! Swoosh! The streaks of flowing light were extremely fast and arrived in the sky above the Witch God city in the blink of an eye. Everyone finally saw the true appearance of the streaks of flowing light. They were huge beasts with vast auras. On the back of each of the beasts stood hundreds of cultivators with powerful auras. There were dozens of such beasts hanging in the sky above the Witch God city, causing many cultivators to feel a chill down their spines. The leading beast was the largest and had the most powerful aura. On the back of this beast, a middle-aged man with a sharp expression and wearing a black feather robe looked down at the entire Witch God city indifferently. Then, countless cultivators in the Witch God city saw the man in the feather robe slowly raise his right hand and then put it down gently. The chaotic energy in the surrounding tens of millions of miles seemed to have been summoned and gathered in the sky, forming a terrifying giant palm that covered the sky. They are all from the Nuwa clan. What is he trying to do? In the Witch God city, countless cultivators looked at the scene in the sky in a daze. Naturally, they saw the figures standing on the beasts clearly. They were all in the form of a snake with a human head. In the entire 100 Outer Realms, only the clansmen of the Nuwa clan possessed such a form. When they felt the terrifying pressure from the giant palm formed by the man in the feather robe, they all thought of something. Run, run. They are trying to destroy the Witch God city. The cultivators who reacted first screamed and started to run frantically out of the Witch God city. Run? You are too naive. Today, the Witch God city must be destroyed. All of you must die. The man in the feather robe softly muttered before his right palm smashed down. That giant palm rapidly fell. Boom! Boom! When the huge palm finally landed on Sorcerer God City, an earth-shattering explosion resounded in the air. After the explosion, An extremely dazzling light soared into the sky. It overflowed in all directions and covered the entire space. The terrifying explosion drowned out the countless screams coming from the witch god city. When the light faded, the bustling sorcerer god city had been reduced to ruins. It should have been a huge city, but now only a huge crater was left. Within the sorcerer god city, close to 1 million cultivators were torn apart by the terrifying energy as if they were vaporized. The man in the feather robe had destroyed a huge city like Witch God City with just a wave of his hand. His strength was unprecedented. Mo phone you, you're really hard-hearted. You watched the Witch God City being destroyed from the shadows and didn't do anything? The man from the Yi family placed his hands behind his back and looked toward the east with a faint smile on his face. As soon as he finished speaking, the space in the east suddenly distorted. Mo Fengyu walked out of the distorted space with several people. Mo Fengyu's head was lowered, and his expression was extremely respectful. If one looked closely, they would see that Mo Fengyu's eyes were filled with terror and fear. The people behind Mo Fengyu were Mo Liuhua, Lu Yingying, and the other high-level experts of the Witch God Clan. Witch God Clan Domain Guardian Mo Fengyu greets Lord Xinyu. Mo Fengyu hurriedly walked to the man in the feather robe with Mo Liuhua and the others. He bowed deeply, his eyes filled with shock. The man in the feather robe was called Xinyu. He was one of the 7 Dharma plane experts of the Niwa clan. He had a high status and was extremely powerful. Mo Fengyu knew that the Niwa clan would send someone, but he didn't expect them to send someone as important as Xinyu. If anyone else dared to destroy Witch God City as soon as they arrived, Mo Fengyu would have charged forward and fought with his life. However, if the person who destroyed Witch God City was Xinyu, Mo Fengyu would only feel a deep sense of fear. He wouldn't even dare to fart, because the man in the feather robe was not only powerful enough to destroy Witch God City, but also the Witch God Sacred City. It was more than enough to destroy the entire Witch God clan. God Bless looked mockingly at Mo Fengyu, who was standing before him with his head lowered and his body shivering. Mo Fengyu, do you know why I destroyed Witch God City as soon as I arrived? Xinyu smiled warmly. However, in Xinyu's eyes, that warm smile was even more terrifying than a demon. He quickly lowered his head. After thinking for a while, he asked carefully, "Did I do something wrong?" Xinyu said calmly, "Then do you know what you did wrong?" Mo Fengyu thought of something. His body trembled, but he couldn't say a word. Xinyu ignored Mo Fengyu. Instead, he walked forward slowly and said coldly, "The Witch God clan is so calculative. You want to stay out of Lai Rong's matter and protect yourselves, right? It's a pity that you don't know how stupid it is to do this. Lai Rong died in the Witch God boundary, and he died right in front of you. Not only did you let the murder go, but you also gave away the murderer's weakness. Do you really think the Niwa clan's intelligence network is useless?" Mo Fengyu's pupils shrank. He suddenly knelt on the ground and kept kowtowing. "Master Xinyu, I had no choice. The man with the surname Duan next to Zhuowen can use cosmic dharma to a certain extent, and we also swore a heavenly oath. We can't be enemies with them, so..." Before Mo Fengyu could finish, a terrifying force slammed into his chest. "Puchi!" Mo Fengyu grunted and flew backward. His face was as pale as a sheet. Chapter 4169. God Bless rubbed his slender, fair fingers as he looked at Mo Fengyu, who was kneeling before him and trembling in fear. His lips curled into a cold smirk. "Mo Fengyu, I'll give you a chance to make up for your mistake. Send out all the manpower and resources the Sorcerer God clan can muster to search the entire Sorcerer God world. If you can't do that, what right does the Sorcerer God clan have to rule the Sorcerer God world?" God Bless spoke slowly. His words were cold and merciless, sending chills down one's spine. Mo Fengyu hesitated for a moment and said, "Zhuowen and the man with the surname Duan must have left the Sorcerer God world as soon as possible." Are we still going to search the sorcerer god world? God bless smirked. Idiot. The Nuwa clan has already set up a trap outside the sorcerer god world. We'll naturally notice if they escape. However, there's no movement at the border of the sorcerer god world. Clearly, the two of them haven't left the sorcerer god world. They're hiding somewhere in the sorcerer god world. Mo Fengyu immediately kowtowed and apologized. He then said carefully, "Don't worry, Lord God bless. I'll do it for you even if it costs me my life." The cultivators in the sorcerer god world were in an uproar, especially when they heard that the Nuwa clan's powerhouses had arrived and destroyed the sorcerer god city in one move. The news spread like wildfire in the sorcerer god world. Meanwhile, the sorcerer god clan began to mobilize large amounts of manpower, resources, and intelligence to search for Zhuowen and Duan Jipeng's whereabouts. All of a sudden, everyone in the sorcerer god world was in danger. They were jittery and extremely restless. Meanwhile, Zhuowen and the others who were in the southern part of the sorcerer god world, deep in the remote mountain range shrouded in clouds and mist, had no idea what was going on. Time flew by like a white steed flitting by a crack. 1 month, 2 months, half a year passed in the blink of an eye. In the past half a year, the Hushu people spent most of their time cultivating in the White Jade Palace. Their progress was extremely fast. After all, the resources in the White Jade Palace were too abundant. The surviving Hushu people were basically the elites of the younger generation. They were all extremely talented. Among them, the ones who improved the fastest were Sa, Mei, and Ta Sheng. The two of them were originally at the early stages of the Celestial Devil transformation stage. But with the help of the White Jade Palace's vast resources, they managed to reach the pinnacle of the Celestial Devil transformation stage in just half a year. As long as they had an epiphany, they would be able to take a step further and achieve the Ancient Star transformation. During this half a year of time, Zhuowen seemed to be rather leisurely. He would either refine pills or set up formations, and when he had free time he would seek guidance from Shan Lingyun in the art of spirit speech, and he was extremely carefree. This was not Zhuowen's fault. After all, his cultivation had reached a bottleneck. If he wanted to break through this bottleneck, he would need far more resources than the White Jade Palace. Therefore, before he gathered enough resources, Zhuowen didn't plan on cultivating because it would only be a waste of time. He might as well use this time to consolidate his Pill Dao, Array Dao, and Spirit Speech technique, especially his Array Dao. Zhuowen had already reached the pinnacle of the first firmament of the eternal level. If he could break through again, his strength would be even more terrifying. At the same time, Zhuowen gave the 2 rank 7 astral weapon fragments that he had obtained from Mo Fengyu and the green-robed elder to Xiao He. He still remembered Xiao He's stunned expression. He had almost knelt in front of him with tears and snot. Obviously, the 2 rank 7 astral weapon fragments were of great help to Xiao He. Perhaps they could help him break through again. It was no wonder that Xiao He was so excited. After obtaining the rank 7 astral weapon fragments, Xiao He immediately went into seclusion. He didn't even care about Shurpatian. This made the little kid feel extremely wronged. He sat by the lake every day with tears in his eyes and sighed. Zhuowen sat beside the little kid. He patted the latter's little shoulder and comforted him with a smile. The little kid, who was originally sad, once again revealed an innocent smile. Zhuowen silently looked at Shurpatian. Feeling the latter's powerful aura, he couldn't help but sigh inwardly. What a peerless monster! The first time he saw Shurpatian, he was only at the Tao-confirming realm. Now that he saw him again, this kid had already passed the heaven's decay and reached the heaven-breaking realm. His current realm was the heaven-breaking first change, the divine fetus transformation. Moreover, Shurpatian had also grown a lot. Half a year ago he was just a baby. Now he was a 1-meter-tall toddler. His growth was extremely fast. Speaking of which, Zhuowen was quite envious of Shurpatian. This little guy didn't have any cultivation bottlenecks. As long as he grew, the little guy's cultivation would naturally rise. Suddenly, Zhuowen seemed to sense something and looked up at the sky above the great world. Sherpatian also raised his head. That pair of innocent eyes suddenly became sharp. Master, what a powerful aura. It seems like someone broke through and isn't far from the great world. Sherpotian's young and inexperienced brows furrowed slightly, and he said in puzzlement, "It's my friend. Little Stone, I'm leaving first. I'll come to see you next time." Zhuowen rubbed Sherpotian's little head. The latter pursed his lips, appearing somewhat unhappy. He did not say any words to urge him to stay, and just obediently gave an "oh." After Zhuowen left the great world, he appeared in the depths of the endless mountain range. In that valley in the depths, there existed a deep and mysterious cave. This cave was the abode that Duan Jipeng specially built. At this moment, in the depths of this inconspicuous cave, an extremely terrifying aura suddenly surged out. The aura was like an abyss, pouring out without the slightest scruple. It was mighty and unstoppable. Although Zhuowen did not get close to the valley, he was also shocked by the terrifying aura and could not help but take a few steps back. Shan Lingyun, Sa Mei, Tua Sheng, and the rest also left the White Jade Palace and gathered behind Zhuowen. This is... Sa Mei looked rather shocked. Brother Duan should be about to break through. He may have successfully condensed the universe Dharma form. Zhuowen was in high spirits. He looked into the valley, and the corners of his mouth curled up slightly. Sa Mei, Tua Sheng, and the rest were wild with joy. The brother Duan that Zhuowen mentioned was naturally the extremely powerful man with the surname Duan. Once Duan Jipeng successfully broke through, they would be able to use his power to return to the Huexa region and wipe out the Gold Water Clan, Purple Fantasy Clan, and Godai Clan. They would then be able to take revenge for the annihilation of the Huexu clan. Disciple, you can activate the array of this mountain range. Now, the entire Wuxin world is not peaceful. The people of the Wuxin clan are almost all over the world looking for us. It's best not to make too much noise here. Shan Lingyun said solemnly. Chapter 4170. With Zhuo Wen's current formation's Tao standards, the power of the Grand Array that he set up was absolutely unique. Zhuowen nodded, but he still felt a little unconfident. After all, the Cosmic Aspects tribulation was definitely extraordinary. He wasn't sure if the array he had painstakingly set up over the past few months could completely conceal the aura of the tribulation in this mountain range. Boom! 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 Just as Zhuowen was deep in thought, a terrifying rumble came from the valley. Then Zhuowen was shocked to discover that the space above the valley had collapsed. Bottomless cracks and black holes had appeared in the sky. Every crack and black hole was filled with dazzling tribulation energy. This kind of tribulation energy would be terrifying even if an expert of the great Qian Kuin tribulation encountered it. There were many of these cracks and black holes, and they were densely packed. Every crack and black hole contained terrifying tribulation energy. Sa Mei, Ta Sheng, and the other Hushu clan members gathered behind Zhuowen were all pale with fright when they saw the terrifying scene in the valley. Some of them even knelt on the ground, trembling. The Cosmic Aspects tribulation was too terrifying. It hadn't even fully displayed its power, but the aura it emitted already had such terrifying power. Zhuowen's gaze also became serious. Clearly, the power of the Cosmic Aspects tribulation was somewhat beyond his expectations. Thinking of this, Zhuowen waved his sleeve, and a pitch-black array disc appeared in his palm. Then he took out the array disc. Immediately, rune-like patterns of light flowed on the surface of the array disc. When the patterns of light appeared, the clouds that lingered in the endless mountain range all year round were like a stone that stirred up 1,000 ripples. They surged violently like rolling waves. The clouds condensed into giant dragons that danced freely in the sea of clouds. Upon closer inspection, these cloud dragons lingered around the mountain range and were scattered in 8 directions, forming the position of the 8 trigrams. The moment the array was activated, a figure floated out of the valley deep in the mountain range and slowly walked out. He came to the center of the valley and slowly raised his head. Looking at the dense cracks and black holes in the sky, his expression became extremely grim. Zhuowen and the others silently looked at this figure, but in their hearts they were rather nervous. I wonder if Senior Duan will be able to overcome the tribulation of the cosmic form? Shan Lingyun asked worriedly as she held onto Zhuowen's sleeve. Brother Duan will definitely survive this tribulation, Zhuowen said confidently. He knew Duan Jipeng quite well. He knew that Duan Jipeng's methods and trump cards were extraordinary. The cosmic dharma shouldn't be a problem for him. Boom! Boom! Suddenly, the surrounding space was filled with cracks and black holes. Endless calamities rained down. Lightning flashed and thunder rumbled. Flames surged to the sky. Water flooded the Golden Mountain. Streaks of dazzling tribulation energy descended at an unimaginable speed and blasted Duan Jipeng's body without mercy. Duan Jipeng let out a long laugh. He clenched his fists, and the aura in his body suddenly erupted. The billowing aura shot up to the 9 levels of heaven. Then, the void behind him shattered into countless pieces. An extremely huge shadow suddenly stepped out from the depths of the void. This 10,000 zhang tall illusory figure was filled with a mysterious purple light. It was clad in a mighty and extraordinary armor. It walked over majestically, looking heroic and heroic. The huge shadow came in front of Duan Jipeng. With its back facing the endless calamities, it knelt down in front of Duan Jipeng and took the initiative to resist the terrifying calamities with its huge body. Boom! 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 The calamities bombarded and exploded with endless sounds of metal clashing. However, they couldn't break the purple shadow's armor at all. They couldn't even leave a scratch on its body. Duan Jipeng looked directly at the purple shadow in front of him and smiled. Roar! The purple shadow seemed to be telepathically connected with Duan Jipeng. It roared and suddenly straightened its back. Then it took a step and turned around. It drew out the divine saber at its waist and slashed out. A terrifying saber essence spread across the entire mountain. The first wave of calamities was slashed into nothingness by the saber. So terrifying. Don't tell me this is... Shan Lingyun and the rest were stunned. The calamity energy of the universe Dharma power was extremely terrifying. They could see that. Yet now, this violet shadow had merely executed a single strike, yet it had obliterated the tribulation energy that was dense like rain. So, how could they not be astounded? This is Brother Duan's universe Dharma power. No wonder Brother Duan always said that if he didn't form the universe Dharma power, he would be like an ant in front of a universe Dharma power expert. Zhuowen sighed softly. There was no doubt that the universe Dharma power that Duan Jipeng had formed was much more powerful than the one that Lu Yanhua had. Duan Jipeng had also been completely reborn. His strength had reached an extremely terrifying level. Boom! 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 After the purple shadow destroyed the first wave of calamities, an even more powerful calamity energy surged out from the depths of the black hole. It was turbulent and terrifying, but the purple shadow was even more terrifying. All the calamities that fell were turned into nothingness by his saber. The calamities became stronger and more numerous, and the purple shadow didn't seem to be tired. It was in a deadlock with the calamities and blocked wave after wave of terrifying calamities. The purple shadow and the calamities fought from the sky to the ground, and then from the ground to the sky. The mountains collapsed, the lakes were destroyed, and the sea of clouds was stirred up. The array that Zhuowen had set up around the mountain was finally affected. It was on the verge of collapse and seemed to be very strenuous. Finally, the calamities reached the final juncture. The densely packed black, hole suddenly merged together and formed a huge black hole in the sky. Then, in the depths of the black hole, a palm that was shining with colorful lights fell. This palm was too huge. It was even bigger than the purple shadow. When it came down, the entire mountain area was covered by its shadow. The purple shadow was not afraid. He stomped his feet on the ground, and the earth shook violently. The purple shadow was like a god, rushing into the sky at a terrifying speed. When the purple shadow was in front of the palm, he suddenly pulled out his divine saber and slashed out fiercely. This saber was the purple shadow's strongest saber. The saber intent swept out and was extremely mysterious. The divine saber and the palm collided, causing a deafening explosion. Then, a terrifying aftershock quickly swept out. Zhuowen's expression changed slightly. He had to retreat with everyone. He looked at the purple shadow and the 7-colored palm that were in a deadlock. Crack! Crack! Suddenly, an ear-piercing, shattering sound was heard. Then, Zhuowen was shocked to find that the array that he had painstakingly set up had collapsed, and the incomparably valiant purple shadow fell from the sky, kicking up endless dust. The 7-colored palm trembled from the impact, but its surface was not damaged at all. Chapter 4171. In the depths of the sorcerer god's sacred city, a man in a feathery robe, whose aura was as vast as the ocean, sat casually on the throne. His expression was lazy and his posture was casual. Mo Fayu and Mo Liuhua knelt below the throne, trembling in fear. It's been so long. You still haven't found Zhuowen's whereabouts? The man in a feathery robe asked nonchalantly as he looked at Mo Fayu and Mo Liuhua with a cold smile. Mo Fayu shuddered and hurriedly said, Master Xinyu, we're already trying our best to find Zhuowen's whereabouts. Please give us a little more time. We'll definitely find them. As soon as Mo Fayu finished speaking, a glowing seal shot across the sky and landed on Mo Fayu's chest. Mo Fayu grunted and spat out a mouthful of blood. He was sent flying and landed heavily beside the door of the hall behind him. He looked dispirited. Haven't I given you enough time? Xinyu stood up slowly. The laziness on his face had been replaced by sharpness and coldness. A violent, murderous intent shot out from the depths of his eyes and shot toward Mo Fayu. Mo Fayu got up again and knelt on the ground. He kept kowtowing to Xinyu and begging for mercy. Mo Liuhua looked at the scene sadly. Mo Fayu was the ancestor of the sorcerer god tribe after all. He was the protector of the sorcerer god boundary, and he was a member of the sorcerer god tribe. However, they were like ants before the man in a feathery robe. They had no status at all. Mo Fayu was even begging Xinyu for mercy, which made Mo Liuhua very upset. The man in a feathery robe was about to attack, but he suddenly lifted his head and looked sharply to the south. Mo Fayu and Mo Liuhua both had their heads lowered. Naturally, they did not see the strange expression on the man's face. They only knelt there anxiously and did not dare to speak. Do you feel it? That's the aura of the cosmic disaster. The man in a feathery robe suddenly said excitedly. Mo Fengyu and Mo Liuhua finally stopped kowtowing. They slowly raised their heads and glanced at the man in a feathery robe in front of the throne with a rare look of excitement. Let's go. Bring the elites of your sorcerer clan and follow me to the south. The man in the feather robe said coldly. Mo Fengyu and Mo Liuhua hurriedly nodded and began to prepare the team. Once everything was ready, the feather-robed man led Mo Fengyu and the others out of the witch god's sacred city, heading towards the southern part of the witch god domain. Puchi! Inside the valley, Duan Jipang involuntarily spat out a mouthful of blood. His expression became very dispirited. Not far from him, there was a huge crater. In the middle of the crater, the huge purple shadow was almost torn apart. It was dim and lifeless, and its aura was weak. Obviously, the power of the 7-colored palm that appeared at the end of the cosmic Dharma characteristic tribulation was too terrifying. With one blow, Duan Jipeng's cosmic Dharma characteristic was almost destroyed. Fortunately, the seven-colored palm had a certain limit. It could only attack once. Otherwise, not only would Duan Jipeng's cosmic Dharma characteristic be destroyed, but Duan Jipeng's life would also be in danger. Zhuowen immediately rushed into the valley and came to Duan Jipeng's side. "Brother Duan, are you all right?" Zhuowen asked worriedly as he supported Duan Jipeng, who was on the verge of collapsing. Duan Jipeng laughed and shook his head. Then, Zhuowen discovered that the originally dispirited Duan Jipeng's aura was becoming stronger and stronger. It was like a surging river. "I've finally passed the cosmic Dharma characteristic tribulation. From now on, I'm a true cosmic Dharma characteristic expert." Duan Jipeng couldn't hide his excitement. Zhuowen was also happy for Duan Jipeng. He also discovered that Duan Jipeng's aura was much stronger than that of an ordinary early cosmic Dharma characteristic expert. It seemed that Duan Jipeng had gained a lot from absorbing the essence of flowing flames. "I'm afraid we can't stay here any longer. My heavenly tribulation caused too much of a commotion. It might attract the attention of the Niwa clan experts in the witch god boundary," Duan Jipeng said solemnly. Zhuowen nodded. The formation he'd set up had completely collapsed under the attack of the seven-colored palm. The commotion caused by Duan Jipeng's heavenly tribulation naturally couldn't be concealed. It definitely couldn't be hidden from the Niwa clan experts. Soon, Zhuowen gathered the Hushu clan members. He took out the divine ship and flew south. The mountain range they were in was close to the southern border of the witch god boundary. Hence, if they wanted to leave the witch god boundary as soon as possible, they could only leave through the southern border. As they already knew that their whereabouts might be discovered, they didn't intentionally hide their tracks. Instead, they flew as fast as they could. Not long after Zhuowen and the others left, a huge beast appeared in the sky above the mountain range they were in. God bless Mo Fengyu, and the elite cultivators of the witch god clan stood on the back of the beast. Most of the Niwa clan's troops were stationed at the border of the witch god boundary. The guards were monitoring the border. Once they discovered Zhuowen's whereabouts, they would inform them immediately. God bless leaped into the depths of the mountain range. After checking it out, he smirked. "Someone just went through a heavenly tribulation here. It's a cosmic Dharma tribulation. Looks like it's Zhuowen and the others. They're pretty fast. Have they moved so quickly?" Mo Fengyu hurriedly came behind God Bless and said respectfully in a low voice, "Master God Bless, there's news from the southern border. They've discovered Zhuowen and the others. They're currently barging into the border. Let's go." God Bless narrowed his eyes. He waved his sleeve and led Mo Fengyu and the others toward the southern border at a faster speed. Meanwhile, at the southern border, a troop of thousands had already surrounded the godly ship that Zhuowen and the others were on. Duan Jipeng looked at the cultivators with human heads and snake bodies in the troop and scoffed. "The Niwa clan is really persistent. It's been so long, but they're still in the witch god boundary. Brother Zhua, leave this troop to me. You guys go first." As he spoke, Duan Jipeng leaped out of the godly ship. He formed a palm with his right hand and slammed it forward. Instantly, a terrifying energy gushed out like a tidal wave, condensing into a huge palm in midair. The palm came crashing down like a falling mountain. It landed in front of the cultivators in front. It's a cosmic Dharma powerhouse. These cultivators were the elites of the Niwa clan. They had good eyesight and could tell Duan Jipeng's strength at first glance. However, although they had good eyesight, their strength was nothing to scoff at. Duan Jipeng destroyed them with one palm strike. There were hundreds of elite cultivators in front of them. Most of them were killed instantly while the rest were severely injured. Chapter 4172. The moment the divine ship left, Duan Jipeng turned his head slowly with his sharp eyes and scanned the remaining cultivator army around him. All the Nuwa clan cultivators who met Duan Jipeng's gaze lowered their heads, not daring to look him in the eye. They trembled with fear in their eyes. It would be too easy for a cosmic Dharma adept to destroy all of them if such an adept wanted to. "How dare you stop me?" Duan Jipeng asked calmly. Everyone looked at each other and stepped back instinctively. However, they did not leave the encirclement because of that. They were under God Bless's orders to stall Zhuowen and Duan Jipeng at all costs. If they could not do that, what awaited them would be a punishment worse than death. "Since you want to die, I'll fulfill your wish." Duan Jipeng was also a smart person. Naturally, he knew that these people were stalling for time. Therefore, he did not plan to waste any time and attacked without hesitation. He casually threw out a palm strike. The palm print contained endless laws that shook one's soul. Another few hundred cultivators were killed by the palm strike. Duan Jipeng kept throwing out palm strikes. With just 3 palm strikes, the cultivator army that surrounded him was completely annihilated. Only scattered cultivators who were scared out of their wits fled in all directions. Duan Jipeng did not bother to chase after them. He took a step forward with his right foot and flew out of the southern border of the magical realm. Not long after Duan Jipeng left, God Bless arrived with a group of people. God Bless's eyes were filled with rage when he saw the mess at the southern border. "How dare you kill so many of our Nuwa clan cultivators in public? You must have a death wish." Then, God Bless ignored Mo Fengyu and the others. He took a step forward and entered the void, chasing after Duan Jipeng. Mo Fengyu and Mo Liuhua looked at each other. After a moment of hesitation, they had no choice but to follow him obediently. "Patriarch, we've sworn to the heavenly Tao that we can't go against Zhuowen and the others. If we follow Master God Bless to fight against Zhuowen and the others, I'm afraid we'll suffer from the heavenly Tao's backlash." Mo Liuhua said worriedly. Mo Fengyu's face darkened. He sighed heavily and said, "How can I not know about that? It's just that we've already fallen into a dilemma, so we can only take one step at a time." Even though the backlash of the heavenly Tao wasn't life-threatening, it would absolutely have an extremely great impact on one's Tao heart. Not only would it be impossible for one to advance in the future, one's cultivation might even regress instead of advancing. As long as it was a cultivator who had sworn an oath to the heavenly Tao, they would never go against their oath unless it was absolutely necessary. This was also the concern of Mo Fengyu and Mo Liuhua. Suddenly, the communication jade talisman at Mo Fengyu's waist flashed. He frowned but still took it off. When he read the message in the communication jade talisman, his expression became extremely strange. Mo Liuhua was curious after seeing Mo Fengyu's expression. He asked, "Ancestor, who sent you the message?" It's Zhuowen," Mo Fengyu said strangely. Mo Liuhua was stunned, and then he said with disbelief, "What? This guy is too daring. He must know that the witchcraft clan has been hunting them for a long time under God Bless's orders. He actually dared to send you a message?" Then he said, "What did he say?" Mo Fengyu hesitated for a moment, then said in a low voice, "He wants to ally with us to destroy God Bless together." In the blue sky to the south, a divine ship shot across the sky like a comet. On the deck, just as Zhuowen put away the communication jade talisman, Duan Jipeng happened to fly across the sky and land on the deck. "Brother Zhua, who are you sending a message to?" Duan Jipeng glanced at the communication jade talisman Zhuowen had just put on his waist and asked with a smile. "Mo Fengyu." Zhuowen smiled faintly. Duan Jipeng's eyes narrowed and he frowned. "Brother Zhua, Mo Fengyu and the others have already joined the Nuwa clan. Why are you sending them a message?" "I want to work with them to kill the expert sent by the Nuwa clan this time. During this period of time, we've already asked around. The expert that the Nuwa clan sent this time is called God Bless. He should be an early-stage cosmic Dharma expert. if we work together, we might be able to kill him. I just don't know if Brother Duan dares to try it with me." Zhuowen smiled faintly. Duan Jiping chuckled. "Why wouldn't I? The Nuo clan has forced me into a corner all these years. I can't wait to kill every single one of them. God Bless used to be one of the people who hunted me down. I've wanted to kill him for a long time." Duan Jiping frowned. "But Mo Fengyu and the others are fence-sitters. They're not reliable. Working with them is like asking a tiger for its skin." Zhuowen shook his head and smiled. "Brother Duan, have you forgotten that Mo Fengyu and the others swore to the heavens? They can't go against us. If they do, they'll be devoured by the heavens. Of course, if we were still as strong as before, Mo Fengyu and the others would never work with us. But now, I've already revealed to them that you've successfully formed cosmic Dharma. I think they're smart people. They don't have much of a choice. Even if they don't agree to work with us, it doesn't matter to us because they can't attack us. Once they work with us, we'll have a huge advantage. This is to our advantage. There's nothing to lose." Duan Jiping couldn't help but give a thumbs up. Zhuowen's move was brilliant. The divine ship stopped in the middle of the vast underworld. Zhuowen and Duan Jiping walked down the divine ship while Shan Lingyun and the others were still on the ship, hiding at the edge of the underworld. "Clan leader, is Master Zhuo really going to fight God Bless from the Nuo clan? Why don't we just run away?" The Hushu clan members stood on the deck and looked at the two figures in the middle of the underworld worriedly. "We can't run away. God Bless is a cosmic Dharma elite. His divine sense has a huge range, and he's already locked onto us. The longer we delay, the more God Bless can mobilize the Nuo clan members to kill us. If that happens, we won't be able to escape." Shan Lingyun said softly with a penetrating gaze. The deck was silent. Everyone finally understood what Zhuowen was thinking. This was indeed the best way to get rid of the Nuo clan. Master Zhuo hasn't reached the great carefree realm, right? Isn't it a little inappropriate for him to participate in this battle? Sam Mei said worriedly. Shan Lingyun smiled and said, "Don't underestimate my disciple. He's much stronger than you think, and he has many trump cards. When the time comes, he'll surprise all of you." The Hushu clan members looked at each other and doubted Shan Lingyun's words. Chapter 41-73. The vast underworld was shrouded in mist and clouds that looked like dragons. In the middle of the underworld, two slender silhouettes stepped on the calm water quietly. They seemed to be waiting for something with their eyes closed. Swoosh! A sharp, air-piercing sound came from afar all of a sudden. Like a sharp arrow, it pierced through the vast mist and clouds in the underworld. The originally peaceful Jianghu was suddenly filled with water pillars that shot up into the sky. Meanwhile, the blurry clouds that filled the entire river were pierced through by the air-piercing sound. The rolling clouds rolled and parted as if they were split by a saber. In the middle of the underworld, Duan Jiping opened his eyes and looked ahead of the lake. The clouds parted as a silhouette came at lightning speed. The person was middle-aged. His face was fair, and he was extremely handsome. However, his lower body was a snake's body that was covered in purple scales. The middle-aged man came from the edge of the underworld slowly. He was moving very slowly, but he appeared hundreds of feet away in the blink of an eye, as if he was teleporting. Wherever the middle-aged man passed by, the underworld would churn. Water pillars would rise, forming a majestic scene of water pillars reaching the sky. The middle-aged man was one of the Nuo clan's cosmic Dharma powerhouses, Xinyu. The water pillars shot into the sky and fell, forming a dense curtain of rain that was like a storm. Zhuowen and Duan Jiping had an extremely powerful cultivation base. The curtain of rain that was formed by Xin Yu's killing intent was blocked 1 foot away from them. Xin Yu glanced at Zhuowen eerily and eventually fixed his gaze on Duan Jiping. He frowned slightly. "What a familiar aura. I've met you before, haven't I?" Xinyu glanced at Duan Jipeng coldly. Naturally, he could tell that Duan Jipeng was in disguise. However, Duan Jipeng's aura was familiar. As for Zhuowen, he did not care about him at all. A mere ant at the peak of the ancient star transformation realm did not deserve his attention. Duan Jipeng did not answer Xinyu's question. He smirked and said, "Cut the crap. We've been waiting for you here for a long time. Today, I'll take your life here." Xinyu narrowed his eyes and laughed out loud. He said, "Take my life? Just based on the fact that you've only just entered the cosmic avatar realm. And this ant beside you, who's at the peak of the ancient star transformation realm?" After laughing, Xinyu's eyes were filled with killing intent. He said, "Since you want to die, I'll fulfill your wish." Boom! A terrifying aura burst out of God Bless's body. Subsequently, a gigantic shadow stepped out of the void behind him. This cosmic avatar also had a human head and a snake body. It held a divine mace in its left hand and a lotus lamp in its right hand. Boom! Boom! The moment God Bless's cosmic form appeared, the entire river flowed in reverse and surged toward the sky. As for the falling rain, it stopped and hung upside down towards the sky. It was as if the entire Jianghu had become a transparent prison. "Brother Zhua, remember what I told you. Step back first. I will create an opportunity for you." Duan Jipeng whispered to Zhuowen, who was beside him. He also took a step forward and released his own cosmic form. Duan Jipeng's cosmic form was covered in thick armor. Only a pair of crimson eyes could be seen as it stared coldly at God Bless's cosmic form. "This aura, it's really you, Duan Jipeng. You stray dog, you actually dare to stay in the southern region of the 100 Outer Realms. You must have a death wish." When Duan Jipeng released all of his aura, God Bless suddenly looked excited. Although Duan Jipeng had disguised himself, he couldn't hide his aura. God Bless was just too familiar with Duan Jipeng's aura. Duan Jipeng looked calm. As soon as he released his aura, he knew that he couldn't hide his identity anymore. However, so what? As long as he killed God Bless, the Nuwa clan would lose his trail again. "It seems like you really want to kill me. Unfortunately, you're the one who's going to die this time." God Bless laughed out loud. He took a step forward, and the entire Jianghu shook. Countless water droplets turned into the sharpest hidden weapons and shot toward Duan Jipeng. At the same time, God Bless merged with his cosmic form and charged toward Duan Jipeng. Duan Jipeng dared not slow down. He merged with his cosmic form and waved his hand to shatter the water droplets that were coming at him. After Duan Jipeng blocked the first wave of water droplets, God Bless's cosmic form suddenly arrived. He swung the divine mace in his left hand and slashed Duan Jipeng's waist. Clang! Duan Jipeng scoffed. The huge cosmic form pulled out the divine sword from his waist. As soon as he swung the sword in tension spread out like rain. As the sword and mace collided, heaven and earth shook. There were continuous, terrifying explosions. Meanwhile, the surrounding rain was torn into nothingness. Countless water dragons were formed in the huge Jianghu. Zhuowen retreated to the edge of the Jianghu quietly. He looked at the two huge cosmic forms that were fighting in the middle of the lake. He didn't intend to join in. On the other hand, Shan Lingyun and the others were stunned by this array. They had never seen a real fight between cosmic forms. They couldn't imagine how terrifying it would be. Today, however, they had truly witnessed the terror of a universal Dharma powerhouse. This battle is too terrifying. Senior brother, Zhua shouldn't join in. Mei looked at Zhuowen, who was not far away, and said bitterly. The Hushu tribesmen nodded their heads. No matter how powerful they thought Zhuowen was, they couldn't be so blind as to think that he could fight against cosmic forms. The two cosmic forms became fiercer as they fought. They fought from the top of the river to the bottom of the river, and from the bottom of the river to the sky. The sky seemed to have cracked, and the Jianghu seemed to have collapsed. Heaven and earth seemed to have been torn apart. Laozu! Look, those are two cosmic forms. Master Xinyu is fighting with the man with the surname Duan. The people from the witchcraft tribe finally arrived. On the back of the beast, Emo Liuhua pointed at the terrifying fight between the two cosmic forms and said in fear. Emo Fengyu lifted his head slowly and looked at the terrifying fight. He tightened his grip on the communication jade token. Let's not go over for now. Let's observe the situation. Emo Fengyu took a deep breath and said softly. Emo Liuhua opened his mouth. When he realized that Emo Fengyu had already made up his mind, he smiled bitterly and nodded his head. The battle continued. Soon it reached its climax. The cosmic form with a human head and a snake body struck out with the mace in its left hand and the lotus lamp in its right hand. It exerted all of its strength, and its power was terrifying. Duan Jipeng's cosmic form also exerted all of its strength. He drew out the two swords at his waist and charged out like a rainbow. Boom! 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 The two cosmic forms collided. The terrifying aura seemed to have torn the sky apart and shattered the earth. The entire heaven and earth shook because of it. Upon closer inspection, Xinyu's cosmic form had the upper hand, while Duan Jipeng's cosmic form was obviously suppressed. There were even cracks appearing on its nomological body. When the two cosmic forms were in a stalemate, Zhuowen, who was standing quietly at the edge of the Jianghu, stepped out slowly. His reserved aura surged out like an erupting volcano. His aura was like thunder and his momentum was like a gale. Zhuowen's action immediately attracted everyone's attention apart from Xinyu and Duan Jipeng, who were still in a stalemate. Chapter 4174. Senior Brother Zhua. Master Zhua. The Hushu people who were watching the battle at the edge of the lake naturally saw the young man walking toward the center of the lake. They exclaimed in shock. Zhuowen did not stop. He took a step forward, and it was as if he had crossed thousands of miles. He arrived at the center of the lake in the blink of an eye. The horrifying suppression of the cosmic Laksana came crashing down like an avalanche. It was enough to crush any cultivator below the great unfettered realm. Even an expert in the great calamity of universe would be injured by the horrifying suppression. However, Zhuowen stood tall. His robe swelled up like a ball, and a powerful aura burst out, resisting the horrifying suppression of the two cosmic Laksana. What? This guy isn't affected by the cosmic Laksana expert suppression at all? How is that possible? On the other side of the lake, Emo Fengyu stared at the young man standing at the center of the lake with his eyes wide open. The battle between the two cosmic Laksana experts had reached its climax. The suppression that radiated from every move was extremely horrifying. Even Emo Fengyu, who was at the pinnacle of the great calamity of universe, who was at the center of the battle, could not be so calm. He could act as relaxed as Zhuowen. A mere ancient star turned into an ant. Die for me. Above the middle of the lake, God Bless, who initially had the upper hand, naturally noticed Zhuowen, who appeared below. He scoffed and waved his sleeve softly. An air blade that was consolidated by Dharma power fell from the sky. After unleashing the Dharma power air blade, God Bless ignored Zhuowen below and focused on fighting Duan Jipeng. In God Bless's eyes, the air blade was enough to annihilate the insignificant ant below. Above the center of the lake, Zhuowen stood silently. He looked indifferently at the air blades that were getting closer and closer. He took a deep breath and said, "Xiao Hei, let me see what you've achieved during this time." As soon as he finished speaking, Zhuowen flicked his finger, causing a blazing sword light to shoot out from his sleeve and shoot into the sky. The sword light emitted a dragon-like roar and instantly bombarded the chi blade. Then Emo Fengyu and the others were shocked to find that the chi blade formed by the Dharma power was easily destroyed by the sword light. When the sword light faded away, they discovered that the sword light's true appearance was a divine sword with 3 colors: purple, black, and gold. The divine sword's sharpness was oppressive, and its momentum was like a rainbow. Facing the pressure of the two cosmic forms, it did not show any signs of being suppressed. Instead, the more it was defeated, the braver it became. After destroying the air blades, the divine sword pierced through the 9 heavens. It pierced through the boundless law barrier and slammed into God Bless's cosmic form. God Bless was focused on fighting Duan Jipeng. They did not care about Zhuowen at all. When the divine sword, wrapped in a terrifying sword will, rushed toward him, he was finally alerted. He watched in horror as the divine sword, which had pierced through the law barrier on the surface of the cosmic form, grew larger and larger in his eyes. Bang! Like a comet, the sword gleam brushed past God Bless in the blink of an eye. It turned around in the air and returned to Zhuowen. Drip! Drip! God Bless looked at his right palm in a daze. There was a ferocious wound that was an inch deep on his palm. Blood that contained boundless laws flowed out of the wound slowly and dripped onto the ground. He hurt Master God Bless? How is that possible? Even the number 1 person on the Outer Realm Heaven leaderboard might not be able to hurt a cosmic form powerhouse with his ancient star transformation cultivation base. Emo Faiyu and Emo Liuhua looked at each other. They were dumbstruck. Zhuowen's sword was just too shocking. They recalled how they fought against Zhuowen during the battle at the grave. They could not help but be shocked. With Zhuowen and Duan Jipeng's abilities, it would be a piece of cake for them to kill the 2 of them. Fortunately, they did not rashly follow God Bless and stand on the same side. Otherwise, they might have been killed by now. So powerful! On the other hand, the Hushu people were so excited that their faces were flushed. They looked at Zhuowen with respect. A rank 8 astral soldier? No, it's not rank 8 yet, but it's infinitely close to it. I can't believe that an ant like you has an astral soldier of such a level. It's such a waste for you to have it. Give it to me. God Bless looked at the Taiyu sacred sword next to Zhuowen in a sinister manner. Greed filled his eyes as he attacked Zhuowen without holding back. However, Duan Jipeng stood in front of God Bless the moment he attacked, blocking God Bless's attack. God Bless, I'm your opponent. Don't be distracted. Duan Jipeng smirked mockingly. Humph, you're seeking death. God Bless was enraged. He fought Duan Jipeng again while looking for an opportunity to attack Zhuowen. Unfortunately, Duan Jipeng's defense was impenetrable. God Bless did not have the opportunity to attack Zhuowen at all. Meanwhile, Zhuowen controlled the Taiyu sacred sword to join the battle. At the same time, he set up terrifying killing formations to attack God Bless. God Bless, who was supposed to have the upper hand, fell into a disadvantageous position due to Zhuowen's participation, especially the Taiyu sacred sword and Zhuowen's killing formations that were constantly set up to harass God Bless. God Bless was annoyed and had many flaws. After God Bless destroyed the killing formations and the Taiyu sacred sword that attacked its vital spots, it revealed a huge flaw. Duan Jipeng seized the flaw and performed the killing move that he had prepared beforehand. The complete version of the astral soldier dark chakra was thrown at God Bless's back. The dark chakra's eyes that were initially closed opened all of a sudden. A crimson beam shot out. The crimson beam was not eye-catching, but the destructive energy contained in it was terrifying. It had destructive power that could destroy heaven and earth. The crimson beam was extremely fast. It landed on God Bless's back in the blink of an eye. Clearly, God Bless did not expect Duan Jipeng to perform the Niwa clan's ultimate treasure, the dark chakra, at such a crucial moment. Fear filled his eyes. As a Niwa clan powerhouse, he naturally knew the power of the dark chakra very well. Puchi, after the crimson beam penetrated God Bless's back, his chest exploded directly. The explosion was like a lit fuse that kept exploding in his body. God Bless's body, arms, legs, and head kept exploding. Blood splattered everywhere. At the same time, God Bless healed himself rapidly with his Dharma power and guarded his God soul that was deep between his brows tightly. He knew that as long as his God soul could be protected, he would be able to take the hit. Otherwise, he would die on the spot. However, Zhuo and Duan Jiping clearly would not give him the chance. The two of them attacked at the same time and began attacking God Bless at lightning speed. Puchi! God Bless spat out another mouthful of blood. His body was tearing and regenerating. Blood was gushing out of his body. Chapter 41:75 Explode! The moment God Bless left, Zhuo summoned a temporary dimensional portal and brought Duan Jiping away from the place. Meanwhile, he uttered softly, "Boom! Boom!" An endless series of explosions resounded throughout the entire space. It was continuous and unending. Zhuo detonated all the killing formation runes that he set up during the fight with God Bless. Although God Bless was fast, he was still engulfed by the terrifying formation rune's explosion. He shrieked in agony. Zhuo and Duan Jiping stood side by side on the lake far away. They watched the terrifying explosion above the center of the lake calmly. God Bless is indeed a veteran cosmic Dharma powerhouse. He took the dark chakra's attack head-on and escaped from the formation rune's explosion. Duan Jiping frowned slightly. His eyes were like torches. Naturally, he sensed that God Bless's aura was disappearing rapidly. Naturally, it was not because God Bless had died from the explosion. Instead, he had escaped completely. Zhuo sighed softly. Although he and Duan Jiping had planned it perfectly, they thought they could kill God Bless completely. Unfortunately, they had underestimated God Bless's trump card. However, Zhuo believed that even if God Bless managed to escape, he must have paid a terrible price. As God Bless escaped in a panic, Zhuo's sharp eyes moved slowly and landed on Mo Fengyu and the rest who were far away. Mo Fengyu and Mo Liuhua were shocked. They then rode on their gigantic exotic beasts and rushed over. They knelt on the ground as soon as they got close. "Master Zhuo, Master Duan, we were ignorant. We didn't know that the two of you had such powerful skills. We've offended you earlier. Please forgive us, masters." Mo Fengyu's legs were shaking as he spoke in a trembling voice. He was truly terrified. Even God Bless had suffered a great loss from the duo. One could see how terrifying their abilities were. There was no doubt that it would be too easy for Zhuo and Duan Jiping to kill them and the witchcraft god tribe. Duan Jiping glanced at Zhuo, signaling him to handle this. "The two of you, please get up. You guys are very smart. You didn't agree to help us, but you also didn't attack us. This is considered as leaving you guys a way out. Let's go. I won't fuss about today's matter with you." Zhuo waved his sleeve and said indifferently. Mo Fengyu and Mo Liuhua hurriedly expressed their gratitude and left in a hurry. "Brother Zhuo, are we just going to let them go?" Duan Jiping's eyes flickered with killing intent as he watched Mo Fengyu and the others leave. "They're no longer a threat to us. Besides, it's Mo Fengyu and the others' bad luck that we couldn't kill God Bless. When God Bless returned, they would definitely blame Mo Fengyu and the rest. By then they would be doomed. Just think about it," Zhuo said with a faint smile. Duan Jiping thought about it and couldn't help but give Zhuo a thumbs up. He truly admired Zhuo's meticulous planning. "Let's go. We'll return to Hushu Realm first. After we're done there, Brother Duan, please come with me to Nuar Realm." Zhuo said with a smile as he looked at Duan Jiping. Duan Jiping chuckled and said, "Of course. Brother Zhuo, you've helped me so much. I'm not an ungrateful person." Not long after Zhuo, Duan Jiping, and the others left Witchcraft Realm, the space above a vast wasteland at the western border of Witchcraft Realm was distorted. A figure in a sorry state appeared above the wasteland. Uft! God Bless held his glabella and spat out a mouthful of blood. His 7 orifices were bleeding, and he looked as ferocious as a ferocious ghost. Zhuowen, Duan Jipeng, just you wait. I'll make you pay for this. God Bless's face was pale and ferocious. The power of the dark chakra was too terrifying. He was still deeply affected, and his body was hovering between collapsing and reassembling. What infuriated him the most was that his god soul deep in his glabella was severely injured. Initially, his god soul could withstand the dark chakra eye's attack. However, as Zhuowen's killing formation exploded, all of a sudden his mind was in a mess. The dark chakra eye's attack seized the opportunity and blasted deep into his god soul. It was this moment of absent-mindedness that almost caused his spirit to collapse. If it were not for the defense that the Grand Lord had given him back then in his god soul, he would have died immediately. There was no way he could have escaped. God Bless clenched his fists tightly. His eyes were filled with hatred. He dared not stay there any longer and continued to flee in the direction of Niwa realm. While God Bless was running for his life, Mo Fengyu and the rest immediately arranged for the talented juniors in their clan to move the elites of the Witchcraft God clan after they returned to Witchcraft Sacred City. They were preparing to leave Witchcraft Realm and flee to the north of the 100 Territories. Mo Fengyu and the rest were not stupid. They had no way out since Zhuowen and Duan Jipeng could not get rid of God Bless completely. If they did not arrange for the Witchcraft God clan to leave, they would never have the chance to leave again. By then, they might have to face the disaster of clan annihilation. Time flew by. When Zhuowen and Duan Jipeng's divine ship arrived at Hushu Realm, they heard the news of the Witchcraft God clan being annihilated. It was said that after God Bless escaped to Niwa clan, the Grand Lord was enraged. He sent an army to surround Witchcraft Sacred City. Not only did they turn the huge sacred city into ruins, but they also slaughtered any cultivators who belonged to the Witchcraft God clan. The ruins of Witchcraft Sacred City were completely covered by mountains of corpses and seas of blood. It was a terrifying sight. Meanwhile, Mo Fengyu and the other important figures of the Witchcraft God clan had fled to the north long ago. Therefore, they managed to avoid the inhumane massacre. After the collapse of the Witch God Sacred City, the head of the Niwa clan had sacrificed 30% of the population of the Witch God domain to an astral weapon fragment to punish Mo Fengyu and the others for their crime of escaping. Zhuowen was very calm after hearing the news. He already knew that Niwa clan would not let it go. However, he did not expect the Grand Lord of Niwa clan to implicate the innocent. 30% of the population of Witchcraft Realm was sacrificed. It could be described as inhumane. The Grand Lord is really cruel. He killed tens of millions of people, just like that. When Duan Jipeng heard this news, he was filled with righteous indignation. Zhuowen did not say anything. However, he did not look happy either. After all, he could not stand the Grand Lord's actions. After Zhuowen and the rest entered Hushu Realm, they headed straight to Hushu Sacred City, the core of Hushu Realm. They stayed in the hall along the way. After Huxley clan was annihilated, they had a rough understanding of the situation in Hushu Realm. Chapter 4176. Under the oppression of the 3 clans, although most of the cultivators swallowed their anger, there were still some forces that joined forces to resist the oppression of the 3 clans. Of course, these forces fighting the 3 clans head-on was no different from hitting a rock with an egg. However, these forces that joined forces were native forces of the Hushu realm, and their understanding of the geography of the Hushu realm far surpassed that of the 3 clans. Therefore, most of these resistance forces fought guerrilla warfare against the 3 clans and did not fight them head-on at all. This gave the cultivator armies of the 3 clans a headache. From the information that Zhuowen obtained, he discovered that the core force of these resistance forces was actually the Hong sect that led the 4 Shenzhen and had been fighting against the 3 clans. The current leader of the Hong sect was Hong Xinwu. When Zhuowen heard this news, he could not help but nod secretly. Hong Xinwu's cultivation path was to cultivate the righteous energy of heaven and earth. It was a completely different path. Although Zhuowen did not walk the pure path of the righteous energy of heaven and earth, he knew that this cultivation path had boundless potential, especially Hong Xinwu. He had cultivated the righteous energy of heaven and earth for countless years and had now reached a stage where he had accumulated enough. Therefore, Zhuowen was not surprised that his cultivation could surpass the leaders of the 4 Shenzhen realm in a short period of time and become the leader of the alliance forces. TSK, Zhuowen took out the communication jade and sent a message to Hong Xinwu. He now needed to confirm the location of Hong Xinwu and the others and then meet up with them. Just relying on Shan Lingyun and the others to rebuild the Huxley realm was not enough. If Hong Xinwu and the others were willing to help rebuild the Huxley realm, it would obviously be able to help the Hushu realm recover faster. Soon, Zhuowen received a reply, and then his expression immediately became gloomy. "Brother Zhuo, what happened?" Duan Jipeng saw that Zhuowen's expression was not very good and hurriedly asked. Zhuowen said in a low voice, "Some of my friends are resisting the 3 clans, and now the 3 clans have sent a large number of experts to surround and suppress them. They are not in a good situation now. I need to go over and help my friends." "Let's go together." Duan Jipeng smiled. Zhuowen didn't refuse. He nodded and headed towards the location Hong Xinwu gave him. The Red Cliff Mountain was located several thousand kilometers to the west of the ruins of the divine city of Hushu. It was a famous danger zone in the Hushu realm. The terrain was steep, lofty, and unapproachable. It was difficult to see the peak of the mountain. At that moment, the surroundings of the Red Cliff Mountain were faintly discernible. Numerous densely packed silhouettes surrounded the Red Cliff Mountain in a manner that covered the sky and covered the sun. There was a valley in the Red Cliff Mountain. At this moment, there was another group of cultivators in the valley. They were using their divine power to activate the powerful formation around the Red Cliff Mountain. Boom! Boom! Outside the Red Cliff Mountain, the cultivator armies of the 3 great clans were constantly attacking the formations and restrictions of the Red Cliff Mountain. Within the valley, Hong Xinwu's expression was grave as he looked at the countless attacks coming from outside the mountain. Luo Lingyu silently stayed by Hong Xinwu's side, her pretty face incomparably pale. Behind Hong Xinwu, the 4 Shenzhen sect masters also had ugly expressions. The white-haired Gue Jing came to Hong Xinwu's side and said in a deep voice, "Brother Hong, we can't go on like this. This formation won't be able to hold on for long. We're already at the end of the road. Now the only choice left is to surrender." Heavenly Star, Sacred Lord's eyes flickered as he spoke. Long Duzi and Goddess Qingwan were silent. However, from their expressions, it could be seen that they were somewhat moved. Hong Xinwu flicked his sleeves and said in a deep voice, "We definitely can't surrender. If we surrender, the 3 great clans will definitely not let us go. In the end, we'll have to die. It's better to fight to the death. Moreover, Daowin has already returned. He's rushing over here. We still have hope." The instant Daowin was mentioned, Gue Jing, Heavenly Star, Sacred Lord, Long Dizzy, and Goddess Qingwan's eyes all lit up. Back then, when Dao Wen's cultivation was still not high, he had already taken the lead and overshadowed the 4 of them. However, very quickly their eyes dimmed. Although Dao Wen was brilliant, there was still a large gap between him and the experts of the 3 great clans. After all, there were several experts at the Ancient Star transformation who were surrounding them this time. Back then, Dao Wen was only at the Divine Domain transformation. It was impossible for him to reach the level of the Ancient Star transformation in such a short period of time. Dao Wen has already said that he can destroy the 3 great clans when he returns this time. Hong Xinwu said calmly. Here. He knew Zhuowen the earliest and understood the latter the deepest. As long as it was Zhuowen who said it, it would not be groundless. It must be something that he was confident in being able to do. When the 4 great Shenzhen sect masters heard this, they could not help but be stunned. Soon after, they shook their heads and did not take Hong Xinwu's words to heart. They only thought that Zhuowen was just boasting. When Zhuo Wen and the others steered the divine ship and arrived near the Red Cliff Mountain, they saw a large group of cultivator armies from the three great clans surrounding the Red Cliff Mountain in layers and layers, making it impossible for even a drop of water to leak through. The arrival of their divine ship naturally attracted the attention of the cultivator armies from the three great clans. One after another, unfriendly gazes shot over and landed on Zhuowen, who was standing on the deck. "Who are you?" Three figures with powerful auras flew out from the cultivator army. Their terrifying auras firmly locked onto Zhuowen's divine ship. Among the three figures, the leader was a burly bearded man. He wore armor covered in blood-red chains, and his eyes flickered with a scarlet light. He licked his lips and looked at Zhuowen's group with hostility. One at the middle stage of the ancient star transformation and two at the early stage. Zhuowen indifferently sized up the three of them. He did not answer the big man's question and instead muttered to himself, Who the hell are you?" The burly man's gaze immediately became much sharper and his voice became much colder. The killing intent in his eyes became even more terrifying. "The person who will kill all of you." Zhuowen stopped the divine ship and took a step forward. He seemed to have teleported and appeared before the burly man. After that, he lightly slapped out with his palm. It seemed slow, but it was actually swift, like lightning, and unstoppable. The burly man gazed at the simple palm strike as cold sweat dripped down his forehead. He was actually completely unable to notice when Zhuowen appeared. Especially this simple palm strike, it actually gave him the misconception that he was unable to dodge it. In the end, he watched helplessly as the palm strike descended onto his chest. After that, he suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood as he fell from midair and crashed heavily onto the ground. After the burly man was heavily injured by a single strike from Zhuowen, the two early-stage ancient star transformation cultivators behind the burly man had only just reacted. Chapter 4177. Sir, we're from the three great clans. We hope you won't meddle in our affairs for the sake of the three great clans. As for the people of our three clans that you killed, we don't need to care about it. The two early-stage ancient star transformation cultivators couldn't help but warn Qin Feng after putting some distance between them and the three great clans. Zhuowen smiled. In his eyes, the three great clans weren't even worth mentioning. He didn't say anything else. Instead, he slapped out with his right palm, and a powerful palm energy descended from the sky toward the two early-stage ancient star transformation cultivators. No, the two early-stage ancient star transformation cultivators felt the terrifying palm energy descending upon them, and they couldn't move their limbs at all. They could only watch as the palm energy enveloped them. Pucci! The two early-stage ancient star transformation cultivators only had time to let out a miserable cry before exploding into a bloody mist, their bodies and souls destroyed. After Zhuowen killed the three leaders of the group in an instant, the other cultivators were all dumbfounded. They couldn't muster up any will to resist, and they all fled. After Zhuowen dealt with the three ancient star transformation stage experts in a straightforward manner, Hong Xinwu and the other members of the resistance forces in a valley within the Red Cliff Mountains stood motionless, as if they had been petrified. They looked at the scene before them in disbelief, and some of them were even rubbing their eyes. When had Daowen become so powerful? He'd actually killed a mid-stage ancient star transformation cultivator and two early-stage ancient star transformation cultivators with a wave of his hand. It had to be known that these three ancient star transformation realm experts had led the three great clans to hunt them down like stray dogs until they were at the end of their rope. When did Daowen become so powerful? Gue Jing's lips trembled, and her voice was filled with disbelief. The Heavenly Star Sacred Master, Long Dizzy, and Qingwan Female Celestial Maiden looked at each other, their eyes filled with fear and respect. At the same time, they felt a sense of melancholy. Thinking back, Zhuowen was only slightly stronger than them. How long had it been since then? He'd already left them in the dust. This was a huge blow to them. Junior brother Daowin has actually become so powerful. Beside Hong Xinwu, Luo Lingyu's beautiful eyes flashed with a trace of shock, but more than that there was joy. Her relationship with Zhuowen had always been pretty good. When she saw how powerful Zhuowen had become, she was happy for him from the bottom of her heart. Hong Xinwu, on the other hand, was giggling foolishly, feeling a sense of pride in his heart. After all, Zhuowen was a member of the Hong sect. It was a great honor for the Hong sect. Outside the Red Cliff Mountain, Zhuowen casually caught a fleeing cultivator. After questioning him, he found out that the resistance faction cultivators were still trapped in the Red Cliff Mountain. At this moment, Hong Xinwu had already ordered people to remove the formation around the Red Cliff Mountain. He laughed heartily as he rushed out, giving Zhuowen a big bear hug. He did not mind that his sloppy clothes might dirty Zhuowen at all. Zhuowen, on the other hand, did not mind. He hugged the sloppy Taoist in front of him tightly, feeling rather happy in his heart. This was because he realized that the sloppy Taoist's cultivation had actually reached the early stage of the ancient star transformation, far surpassing the 4 Shenzhen sect masters. No wonder Hong Xinwu could become the leader of the resistance faction. Junior brother Daowin, where have you been all this time? Why haven't we heard any news about you? Luo Lingyu asked softly as her beautiful eyes landed on Zhuowen. Hong Xinwu and the others also looked at Zhuowen curiously. Ever since Zhuowen left the Liyuan Master District, it was as if he had evaporated into thin air and disappeared without a trace. Zhuowen smiled and said, "After leaving the Liyuan Master District, I went to Hushu, Divine City. Right Daowin is my alias. My real name is Zhuowen." Zhuowen? Could it be that Zhuowen who caused a huge commotion in Hushu Divine City? Gui Jing said in surprise. Zhuowen nodded with a smile, admitting it. On the other hand, Hong Xinwu and the others gasped. Back then, Zhuowen stirred up a storm in Hushu Divine City, causing a sensation in the entire Hushu realm, and everyone took delight in talking about it. However, after Hushu Divine City was destroyed by the 3 great clans, Zhuowen's whereabouts were unknown. Many people thought that he had died. After recovering from his shock, Hong Xinwu thought of something and could not help but ask, "Dao, Zhuowen, you didn't come back this time to tell me that you want to take back control of Hushu realm from the 3 great clans, right?" Zhuowen shook his head. A trace of disappointment flashed in the eyes of Hong Xinwu and the others, but Zhuowen's next sentence made them open their mouths wide and dumbfounded. "I came not only to take back Hushu realm, but also to destroy the 3 great clans, Goldwater, Purple Fantasy, and Divine Eye," Zhuowen said seriously. Hong Xinwu said with a bitter smile, "Zhuowen, this joke is not funny. The 3 great clans all have great, carefree realm experts, and your cultivation should only be at the peak of the ancient star transformation realm. I advise you not to do anything stupid. Wait until you are strong enough. Then you can take revenge on the 3 great clans. Why do you have to choose such a sensitive time?" Gui Jing and the others nodded repeatedly. With Zhuowen's growth speed, he should be able to reach the great, carefree realm in a few decades or 100 years. At that time, he would have the confidence to challenge the 3 great clans. But now, they did not have enough confidence in Zhuowen. Zhuowen did not explain, but said indifferently, "Sect Master, Senior Sister Luo, you can rest assured. The 3 great clans are not in my eyes." Hong Xinwu did not try to persuade him. He understood Zhuowen very well and knew that it was useless to try to persuade him. The others sighed in their hearts, thinking that Zhuowen was a little arrogant, but they did not say anything. Next, Zhuowen talked with Hong Xinwu and the others for a while, and roughly understood the current situation of Hushu realm. The Hushu realm was completely divided up by the 3 great clans. Other than the Jinshui clan, who was kind to the cultivators of the territory they had divided, The other two clans were not so kind to the cultivators of the territory they had notified. They almost killed all of them. They treated them like cattle and horses. And the territories divided by the three great clans were all guarded by a late-stage ancient star transformation expert, who would often join forces with the cultivator army to encircle and suppress the resistance forces that appeared in the realm. This time, the three great clans had joined forces and gathered most of the elite cultivator army to encircle and suppress Hong Xinwu's resistance forces. If not for Zhuowen's timely arrival, the resistance forces, led by Hong Xinwu, would have been doomed. Next, Hong Xinwu brought them to their hidden base. Zhuowen introduced Duan Jipeng, Shan Lingyun, and the others to Hong Xinwu and the others. Of course, they did not know Duan Jipeng's true cultivation, so they did not pay much attention to Duan Jipeng. Chapter 4178. After the cultivator armies of the three great clans failed to encircle and annihilate the resistance alliance, news of this immediately spread like a clap of thunder. The three late ancient star transformation cultivators of the three great clans guarding the Hex realm were both shocked and enraged. They didn't expect that someone would appear out of nowhere and ruin their encirclement plan. What angered them even more was that the young man named Zhuowen, who had suddenly appeared and killed the leader of the cultivator armies, had issued a declaration that the cultivator armies of the three great clans had to withdraw from the Hex realm within 3 days. Otherwise, they would be killed without mercy. At the former site of the divine city of Hex stood a magnificent temple. After the destruction of the divine city of Hex, this temple was built by the experts of the three great clans. It was mainly used as a meeting place for the leaders of the three great clans stationed in the Hex realm. At this moment, the highest level leaders of the three great clans stationed in the Hex realm were gathered in the depths of the temple. Bang! A muscular man with a bare upper body, covered in complicated patterns, slammed his hand on the table. "You've gone too far. Who does this Zhuowen think he is? Not only did he kill the people of our three great clans, but he also arrogantly said that our cultivator armies had to withdraw from the Hex realm within 3 days." The muscular man was unable to restrain his anger, and his eyes burned with raging flames. This kid really is arrogant. Does he really think that there's no one in our three great clans? We'll wait for him in the temple. Let's see if he dares to come. The feminine man sitting across from the muscular man had an exceptionally cold expression as he sneered. On the other hand, the green-clothed man sitting on the other side frowned. He muttered Zhuowen's name, but didn't interrupt. The muscular man and the feminine man didn't notice the azure-robed man's strange behavior. Brother Qinglin, Brother Lilong, and I have decided to gather all our forces in this temple. I'd like to see if that Zhuowen dares to come. Brother Qinglin, your Jinshui clan should also stand on the same side as us, right? The feminine man glanced at the silent, azure-robed man and asked in a neutral tone. He knew that Qinglin had been very gentle to the cultivators of the Hushu realm when she ruled over the territory of the Jinshui clan. Compared to their brutal rule, Aobashi's territory was like a clear stream. It was because of this contrast that the feminine man and the burly man did not have a good relationship with Aobashi. Naturally, they wanted to drag Aobashi down with them. Aobashi frowned. He thought for a moment and nodded. All right. The feminine man and the muscular man were surprised by Aobashi's straightforwardness, but they didn't think too much about it. They thought that Aobashi had only agreed because of their pressure. After the three of them reached an agreement, they each sent a message to the realm guardians of their respective domains and received unanimous approval. However, what the two men did not know was that Qinglin had received a secret message from Psycho Hongfei. Although Aobashi's expression did not change, her heart was in turmoil, as if a huge wave had been set off. This was because the secret message that Psycho Hongfei had given her was to assist Zhuowen in killing Lilong, and Yi knew as soon as he arrived at the Divine Hall. Aobashi did not understand Psycho Hongfei's decision. After all, Lilong and Yi were the higher-ups of the Purple Mirage and God's Eye. If she assisted Juoin in killing the two of them, wouldn't she completely offend the Purple Mirage and God's Eye? However, Aobashi did not dare to disobey Saiku Hongfei's orders, nor did she dare to ask for the reason. Juoin stood tall on a hidden cliff. His eyes looked through the heavy fog in the direction of the Hushu sacred city in the north. Shan Lingyun and the other members of the Hushu clan followed behind him. Their expressions were very serious. Hong Xinwu and the others stood not far from Juoin. There was a trace of worry in their eyes. When the three leaders of the three clans said that they would wait for Juoin at the Divine Hall, Juoin decided to go to the Divine Hall personally to take back the old site of the Hushu sacred city. At the same time, he would also eliminate the three clans who did not surrender. Let's go. Today we will take back the Hushu sacred city and chase the three clans out of the Hushu region. Juoin spoke softly. However, his voice was like a bell that rang in everyone's hearts. Then, he summoned a divine ship and appeared at the edge of the cliff. Juoin stepped in first, followed by the Hushu clan members. Finally, Hong Xinwu and the others hesitated for a moment. Then, they sighed softly and entered the divine ship as well. They had already prepared for the worst. Even if they died this time, they did not want to let the three clans have an easy time. Juoin could naturally see that Hong Xinwu and the others were in low spirits. However, he did not explain anything. After he completely took back the old site of the Hushu sacred city, they would naturally understand. After everyone entered the divine ship's deck, Juoin steered the ship away from the cliff. The Resistance Alliance's secret base was not far from the Hushu sacred city. It was about 10 hours away. When the divine ship arrived at the outskirts of the old site of the Hushu sacred city, they could clearly see that the divine hall built on the old site was heavily guarded. Visible to the naked eye, cultivator armies surrounded the divine hall in 3 layers. They vaguely formed a strange formation. These cultivator armies immediately noticed the divine ship approaching from afar. They immediately surrounded it, each of them brimming with killing intent. "Who goes there?" The cultivators who surrounded them asked Juoin with unfriendly expressions. "Juoin!" Juoin slowly walked out from the ship's bow and said in a calm voice. The cultivator army surrounding the divine ship turned pale with fright. Juoin's name naturally resounded like thunder in their ears. They had not expected that this Juoin would dare to come to the divine hall alone. This kid was really courting death. Scram! Juoin did not waste any time. He only uttered a single word and brazenly attacked. He casually struck out with his palm. Terrifying energy surged out like dense raindrops and landed on the cultivator army. It was like an explosion, causing the cultivator army to explode and die. In the blink of an eye, the cultivator armies surrounding the divine ship were completely routed. More than half of them were dead or injured. Juoin flicked his finger. Countless energy blasts exploded, releasing even more terrifying energy that shot toward the rest of the cultivator army. In an instant, the astonishing number of cultivator armies fell into disarray. The casualties were even greater. "Stop!" A loud shout came from within the divine hall. 3 figures quickly rushed out and stood in front of the cultivator army, blocking the terrifying energy blasts. These 3 figures were the leaders of the 3 great clans stationed in the Hushu realm. They were Yin of the Purple Mirage, Lai Long of the God's Eye, and Qing Lin of the Jinshui clan. The one who shouted just now was Lai Long of the God's Eye. "You are Juoin?" Yin Yu asked bluntly as he looked coldly at Juoin with a feminine expression. "I am." Juoin said indifferently, "I can't help but admire your courage. You actually dared to come to your death." Chapter 4179. Bastard! Qing Lin, what are you trying to do? After Lai Long was severely injured and fell from the sky, the feminine man, Yin Yu narrowed his eyes. He immediately noticed that the one who attacked this time was actually Aobashi, who had been following behind them without saying a word. Yin Yu quickly distanced himself from Qing Lin. His eyes were filled with shock and anger, but at the same time, there was also confusion. Qing Lin should be on the same side as them. So why would she suddenly attack them at this critical juncture? Aobashi's eyes were calm as she led the Jinshui clan's troops to Zhuowen. Then they all knelt on the ground. This lowly one is Qing Lin, a direct disciple of Lord Saiku. Lord Saiku knew that Lord Jua had come to Hushu Realm and specially sent me to pay my respects. Qing Lin said respectfully. Zhuowen looked indifferently at the young man kneeling in front of him. He could see that Qing Lin was looking down on him. Clearly, Qing Lin was willing to kneel to him because of Saiku Hongfei's order. However, Zhuowen didn't mind too much and said indifferently, Saiku Hongfei didn't come to greet me personally and send a little direct disciple like you? Qing Lin was furious, but she still suppressed her anger and said, Master is still in seclusion. When he heard that Lord Jua had returned, he forcibly shortened his seclusion time. He should be able to come out in a few days. Lai Long came out of the pit not far away in a sorry state and glared at Qing Lin, who was kneeling in front of Zhuowen. Qing Lin, how dare you betray us? Aren't you afraid that our two clans will join forces and destroy your Jinshui clan? You can't bear such a crime. Lai Long had a fiery temper. If it were any other time, he would have gone up and fought Qing Lin to the death. However, he had been severely injured by Qing Lin's sneak attack. Although he was furious, he suppressed it and didn't dare to rashly charge forward. Yin Yu landed beside Lai Long and looked at Qing Lin with an unfriendly expression. Qing Lin, turn back and be saved. It's not too late to turn back now. Otherwise, you won't have any chance later. Yin Yu advised. Although they were both at the late-stage Ancient Star transformation stage, Qing Lin was slightly stronger than the two of them, so they didn't want to fight her. Yin Yu's plan was also very good. After pacifying Aobashi and killing Zhuowen and the others, he would go back and complain to Aobashi. Noisy! Zhuowen frowned slightly and waved his sleeve. Suddenly, a terrifying tremor came from underground. It spread out in all directions, layer upon layer. It was extremely terrifying and frightening. Then, a dazzling lone star broke out of the ground, dragging a long tail of light behind it as it rushed towards Yin. Peak Ancient Star transformation. Yin Yu's expression changed drastically. Without even thinking about it, he summoned his natal lone star to block in front of him. Yin Yu's natal lone star was a vast expanse of white, as if the surface of the star was covered with a thick layer of snow. When Zhuowen's star arrived in an instant and slammed into the white, life-bound star, an earth-shattering explosion erupted. Then a rather ear-piercing, shattering sound came from heaven and earth. Yin Yu was horrified to discover that his life's solitary star was only able to resist for a breath of time before it shattered. Among the countless fragments of the star, Zhuowen's star arrived in the blink of an eye and ruthlessly bombarded Yin Yu's body. Yin Yu let out a miserable howl as his entire body exploded into a cloud of blood mist. He couldn't be more dead. The whole place was silent. The cultivator army of the three clans stared blankly at Yin Yu, who had turned into a cloud of blood mist in the blink of an eye. Yin Yu is at least at the late-stage Ancient Star transformation stage, and this Zhuowen was only at the peak. Although there was a gap between the two, it couldn't be so big. The hot-tempered Lai Long was completely scared out of his wits as his entire body trembled. Yin Yu's strength was almost the same as his, but he couldn't even block a single move from the other party, let alone him. The star was like a hot knife through butter. After destroying Yin Yu, it didn't slow down and continued to rush forward. Its target was the frightened Lai Long. Oh my God, run! Lai Long no longer had any momentum to speak of. He immediately jumped up and screamed as he fled into the distance. He didn't even care about the troops he led. Unfortunately, no matter how fast Lai Long ran, he couldn't escape from Zhuowen's palm. When the star caught up to Lai Long, the latter didn't even have the chance to use his life-bound star and was directly crushed to death. Even his soul didn't have the slightest bit of luck. As for the cultivator army, led by Lai Long and Yi Nu, after their 2 leaders died, they simply knelt on the ground and threw down their weapons, surrendering one after another. When Qing Lin saw this scene, his body couldn't help but tremble. The contempt in his eyes completely disappeared and was replaced by deep fear and alarm. This was the first time he saw such a terrifying peak ancient star transformation stage cultivator. His strength was considered extremely strong among the late-stage ancient star transformation stage cultivators. Facing an ordinary peak ancient star transformation stage cultivator, although he wasn't a match, a peak ancient star transformation stage cultivator couldn't kill him. However, this youth in front of him gave him a strong sense of danger. He didn't doubt that if this youth wanted to kill him, it would only take a single move. How could there be such a terrifying ancient star transformation stage cultivator in this world? Qing Lin couldn't help but think back to when Saika Hongfei sent him a message, repeatedly reminding him not to go against Zhuowen. It seemed that Saika Hongfei had long known that this youth was not an ordinary ancient star transformation stage cultivator. His strength couldn't be estimated by an ordinary ancient star transformation stage cultivator. At the same time, Qing Lin was very glad that he didn't offend Zhuowen in any way. Otherwise, he might have ended up in a dangerous situation. Zhuowen waved his sleeve, and the terrifying star sank back into the depths of the ground, disappearing without a trace. "Master, I'll leave this place to you from now on. I'll leave the rebuilding of Hushu City to you. By the way, you can mobilize the cultivator army of the 3 clans as you wish. I'll set up restrictions on them. If anyone dares to disobey, they'll immediately be activated and their bodies and souls will be destroyed." Zhuowen turned to look at Shan Lingyun and said with a faint smile. Shan Lingyun giggled, and her eyes narrowed into crescents. The cultivator army of the 3 clans felt a chill run down their spines. Some of the more quick-witted ones immediately gave up on the idea of running away. They were very clear that with their strength, it was impossible for them to escape. Qing Lin smiled bitterly in his heart. Although he was a little dissatisfied with Zhuowen's decision to use the cultivator army of the Jinshui clan as laborers, he didn't dare to raise any objections. After all, he had personally witnessed Zhuowen's ruthless methods. How could he dare to raise any objections? Shan Lingyun led the Hushu clan members and began to assign tasks to the cultivator army of the 3 clans to rebuild Hushu City. Zhuowen naturally fulfilled his promise and set up powerful restrictions on the cultivator army of the 3 clans. He handed the control of the array disc to Shan Lingyun. Chapter 4180. After dealing with the 3 clans' cultivator armies, Zhuowen's gaze fell on Qing Lin, who was standing to the side with a submissive expression. Qing Lin felt his scalp tingle when he sensed Zhuowen's gaze. He raised his head and smiled obsequiously. "Lord Zhuo, do you have any other orders? Qing Lin will do whatever it takes for you." Zhuowen didn't seem to mind Qing Lin's sudden change in attitude. He said indifferently, "Now, send a message to Saika Hongfei. Tell him to come see me today. Otherwise, I will personally go to the Goldwater realm and flatten his lair. But he doesn't need to live anymore." Qing Lin's expression changed drastically. He didn't expect Zhuowen to ask Saika Hongfei to come see him today. Moreover, if he didn't agree, he would go to the Goldwater realm and flatten Saika Hongfei's lair? Qing Lin even wondered if he had misheard. Although Zhuowen was strong, he was only an ancient star transformation cultivator. Wasn't it a little too arrogant for him to be so rude to Saika Hongfei? Still not going to send the message? Zhuowen glanced at the hesitant Qing Lin and said indifferently. Qing Lin's body trembled. After a moment of hesitation, he took out a communication jade talisman and contacted Saika Hongfei. When Qing Lin received the reply, he was completely shocked. This was because Saika Hongfei had agreed without even asking the reason why Zhuowen had asked him to come today. What was even more unbelievable was that Saika Hongfei had asked him to tell Zhuowen that he was sorry and ashamed. It seemed that Saika Hongfei was very afraid of Zhuowen. Qinglin looked at Zhuowen with a complicated gaze. The young man before him didn't have a strong cultivation base, but he could instantly kill Yu and Lai Long. Even Saika Hongfei didn't dare to go against him. Who exactly was he? Lord Shua. Master has already set off. He will definitely arrive today. Qinglin was even more cautious when facing Zhuowen. The news of the three clans' cultivator armies being defeated by Zhuowen spread extremely quickly. In the blink of an eye, most cultivators in the Hushu realm knew about it. For a time, the entire Hushu realm was in a frenzy to overthrow the three clans' cultivator armies. The various factions rose up in revolt and started the prelude to resistance. Meanwhile, the cultivator armies of the three major clans that were scattered throughout the Hushu realm had no will to fight, and they were being beaten back repeatedly by the opposing forces, suffering heavy casualties. Night fell, and Zhuowen and the others stayed in the temple on the old site of Hushu Divine City. However, the arrival of an uninvited guest broke the peace of this place. Saiku Hongfei, the realm guardian of the Jinshui clan, hurriedly rushed over and knelt before Zhuowen as soon as he entered the divine hall. Saiku greets, Lord Zhuowen. Please punish me, S. Under everyone's gazes, Saiku Hongfei knelt on the ground and apologized to Zhuowen in a humble voice. Inside the temple, the cultivator armies of the three clans and the Hushu realm opened their mouths in shock. Their eyes were locked and filled with disbelief. Qinglin was so shocked that her mind went blank. This was the first time she had seen the high and mighty Saiku Hongfei kneel and beg for forgiveness. Saiku Hongfei lowered his head. There was a trace of malice and panic in his eyes. He had already recovered from his injuries. Moreover, he had reached the late stage of the Qinkuan realm. His strength had increased greatly. In terms of strength, he didn't fear Zhuowen at all. What he was afraid of was that his soul imprint was in Zhuowen's hands. If Zhuowen was really angry, he only needed to crush the soul imprint to kill him on the spot. This was also why Saika Hongfei had rushed over without hesitation when he learned that Zhuowen had asked him to come today. He didn't dare to disobey Zhuowen. Get up. I will have a use for you soon. If your performance is good enough, I can let you regain your freedom. Zhuowen said coolly. Saiku Hongfei's eyes lit up. He naturally understood the meaning behind Zhuowen's words. As long as he performed well enough, Zhuowen would return his soul imprint. At that time, he would no longer need to be controlled by Zhuowen. But soon, Saiku Hongfei began to hesitate. The Purple Mirage and God's Eyes cultivation levels were very high. He was confident that he could deal with one of them. However, he couldn't do anything about the other. He looked at Zhuowen. With his eyesight, he could naturally see that Zhuowen's cultivation level was only at the peak of the ancient star transformation. Qinglin had also told him that Zhuowen had killed Lai Long and Yu with one move. However, he wasn't stupid enough to believe that Zhuowen could really take on a peak, late-stage Qinkuan realm expert head-on. One had to know that Zhuowen had been able to severely injure him and force him to voluntarily give up his soul imprint. All of this was because he had been severely injured by Lu Yuanba's self-destruction during his battle with Lu Yuanba. He was almost an arrow at the end of its flight, which gave Zhuowen an opportunity to take advantage of him. Therefore, he still had a trace of misgivings about Zhuowen's strength. Zhuowen naturally saw the worry in Saiku Hongfei's eyes. He sneered in his heart, but didn't reveal his strength. Saiku Hongfei was now only his servant. He really didn't have the obligation to tell him everything. Time gradually passed. The construction of Hushu City progressed very quickly. In less than 10 days, a tenth of the city's construction had been completed. As for the cultivator armies of the three major clans in the Hushu realm, They were completely chased out of the Hushu realm by the various resistance forces. For a time, the cultivators of Hushu realm fell into an atmosphere of jubilation. Everyone held banquets to celebrate the moment of liberation. At the same time, they all raised their cups in the direction of Hushu City in the north, shouted Zhuowen's name, and drank it all in one gulp. Every living being in the Hushu realm knew that their liberation was only possible because of Zhuowen. Therefore, all the cultivators of Hushu realm were grateful to Zhuowen and raised their cups to celebrate Zhuowen's contributions. Of course, Zhuowen, who lived in the Divine Hall, didn't know that his name had spread throughout Hushu realm and was being praised and thanked by everyone. With Zhuowen's personality, even if he knew, he wouldn't take it to heart. He didn't come to Hushu realm and overthrow the 3 great clans for the sake of the cultivators of Hushu realm. He only fulfilled his promise to help Huxley rise again. At this moment, Zhuowen was sitting on the main seat in the Divine Hall with a playful smile on his face. He said calmly, "The Purple Mirage and gods, I received the news too slowly. They only found out today that their cultivator armies have been defeated. They've been defeated." In the Divine Hall, Duan Jipeng, Saika Hongfei, Qing Lin, Shan Lingyun, and a group of other important figures were also present. Saika Hongfei hurriedly replied, "Zhu Yangqi and Ling Xinghai have been in seclusion. As long as it's not something major, their clans don't dare to disturb them. It's mainly because this matter is too important that those 2 old fellows were forced to come out of seclusion. They should have made breakthroughs. Sir, can you deal with them?" Chapter 40, 181. In the Purple Illusion Domain and the Divine Eye Domain, Zhu Yangqi and Ling Xinghai came out of seclusion after they learned that their clan's cultivator armies were almost completely wiped out in the Hushu Domain. The 2 of them quickly contacted each other and discussed secretly through voice transmission. They decided to join forces and attack the Hushu Domain. The Purple Illusion Realm and the Divine Eye Realm were adjacent realms to begin with. At the intersection of the 2 realms, 2 mighty cultivator armies had gathered. The 2 cultivator armies were led by Zhu Yangqi and Ling Xinghai. However, the 2 of them didn't look too good. Their expressions were gloomy. "Brother Zhu, according to the news, the guy who chased away our 3 clans' cultivator armies is a guy named Zhuowen. I saw this guy in the Hushu Domain, but I didn't pay much attention to him. I didn't expect him to grow so much in such a short time." Ling Xinghai frowned slightly and said to Zhu Yangqi in a low voice. Zhu Yangqi nodded. He had some recollection of Zhuowen. Back when they had entered the divine city of Hushu through the space-time turbulence, they had attacked and killed most of the Hushu clan's elite juniors around the space-time portal. Zhuowen was there at that time. He was the only one who escaped their attack and escaped safely. Also, I contacted that old bastard Saika Hongfei. That old bastard refused to join forces with us to attack the Hushu Domain. What's even more unbelievable is that the old bastard entered the Hushu Domain alone and had a secret meeting with that Zhuowen. Zhu Yangqi said angrily. Ling Xinghai's pupils shrank slightly. He didn't expect Saika Hongfei to not only refuse to join forces with them, but also meet with that Zhuowen himself. They couldn't help but think more about it. No matter what relationship Saika Hongfei has with that Zhuowen, with the 2 of us joining forces, even if it's that old bastard Saika Hongfei and that Zhuowen, we can still trample them all. Zhu Yangqi's temper flared up. He said angrily. Ling Xinghai nodded. Although he was surprised that Saika Hongfei went to see Zhuowen, he didn't think too much of it. He had already heard that Zhuowen was just a piece of trash at the peak of the ancient star transformation realm. So what if he joined forces with Saika Hongfei? There was a huge gap between them and him and them. Let's go. I want to see what kind of storm Zhuowen can stir up. Ling Xinghai sneered. Then he and Zhu Yangqi led the 2 armies of cultivators and majestically rushed into the Hex Domain. The divine city of Hushu Domain was finally rebuilt. The Hushu Domain of the Hushu Domain. Zhuo, Wen nodded inwardly as he stood in the majestic and vast divine city suspended high in the sky. The Hushu divine city was Hushu, rebuilt. Hushu god divine was Hushu, domain ancient, Hushu domain. Streaks of fire-like light circulated on the surface of the divine city. They moved and flickered rapidly. They were extremely powerful formation runes and restrictions. After the Hushu domain was rebuilt, Zhuowen personally set up the Hushu domain of the Hushu domain. These Hushu domain's restrictions complemented each other. They were all at the peak of the first firmament of the eternal realm. When combined, they were almost at the second firmament of the eternal realm. It wasn't an exaggeration to say that any cultivator army from a lower realm who came to attack the Hushu domain was basically courting death. Even if the experts and armies of intermediate realms came, the Hushu domain could block them for a while and escape with ease. After the Hushu domain was rebuilt, the captives of the 3 clans were released. The Hushu people, Hong Shenwu, and the others all settled down in the Hushu domain. Shan Lingyun was a cautious person. During the reconstruction of the Hushu domain, she had built a good relationship with Hong Shenwu and the others. When Shan Lingyun recruited Hong Shenwu, Luo Lingyu, and the 4 sect masters of the Shenzhen domain to become the upper echelons of the Huxley domain, Hong Shenwu and the others agreed without hesitation. The main reason was that Shan Lingyun was sincere enough. Coupled with the tempting conditions, Hong Shenwu and the others dispelled their worries. At the same time, Shan Lingyun sent out invitations to recruit anyone with strength in the Hushu domain. The conditions and bargaining chips she gave were very generous. Most of the cultivators in the Hushu domain were eager to give it a try. They all rushed into the Hushu domain, ready to join the Huxley domain. Of course, although Shan Lingyun's conditions were very generous, not everyone could be selected. Only those with enough strength and background would be accepted. As for those fakes who were just there to make up the numbers, they were naturally rejected. While Shan Lingyun was recruiting talents, Zhuowen and Duan Jipeng were cultivating in their own rooms. As Duan Jipeng had just condensed the cosmic avatar, he needed a lot of time to consolidate and familiarize himself with the new realm. Zhuowen, on the other hand, had been focusing on the alchemy Dao and array Dao. His alchemy Dao and array Dao had reached the peak of the first heaven of the eternal level. He was only half a step away from reaching the second heaven of the eternal level. However, this half a step was as difficult as reaching the heavens. He had tried countless times, but all of them ended in failure. Sigh. If only Bai Tiangong was a second heaven of the eternal level alchemy master and array Dao master, maybe I wouldn't be stuck at the peak of the first heaven of the eternal level. Zhuowen slowly opened his eyes and sighed regretfully. However, he didn't dwell on this matter. Speaking of which, the progress of his alchemy Dao and array Dao was already very fast. He had only cultivated for a few years, but his alchemy Dao and array Dao had already reached the first heavenly layer of eternal realm. If some old guys knew about this, they would definitely be ashamed. Zhuowen comprehended it for a few more days, and he decisively gave up after he noticed that it was like trying to put out a burning cart with a cup of water. Instead, he walked out of Hushu City to take a stroll and relax or exchange his experiences with Duan Jipeng, and he benefited greatly from it. Finally, half a month after the Hushu domain was rebuilt, a dense mass of shadows appeared in the distant sky. Waves of terrifying killing intent surged out from the shadows and rained down on the surroundings of Hushu City. During this period of time, due to Shan Lingyun's widespread distribution of hero invitations, the originally deserted surroundings of Hushu, a holy city, could be said to be extremely lively. Even the Hushu holy city had an endless stream of people coming and going. When the terrifying killing intent surged over, all the cultivators inside and outside the domain changed their expressions drastically. They looked fearfully at the large mass of shadows that was rapidly approaching. Those with sharp eyes immediately realized that the shadows weren't dark clouds, but an army of cultivators with imposing auras. Oh, no, that's the army of cultivators from the Purple Mirage and God's Eye. They're going to attack the Hushu domain. Oh no, why are there so many cultivators in the army? There are at least 100,000 of them. The Hushu domain can't contend with them. Chapter 4182. Everyone, Hushu City is covered in powerful formations and restrictions. Even the combined forces of the Purple Mirage and Gods, I won't be able to break through them. Just stay in the city. On the towering city walls of the Divine City, a beautiful lady's voice reverberated throughout the entire city. She was Sa Mei, who had received Zhouwen's orders to calm everyone down. The commotion in the city calmed down a lot after hearing Sa Mei's words. Although many people were still skeptical, they finally calmed down a lot. Zhouwen led everyone up the city walls in the depths of the city. Zhouwen stood on top of the city walls and looked at the approaching cultivator army in the distance with a disdainful sneer on his face. Not long after, the cultivator army arrived in the sky above the city. Their armor was cold, and their aura was like a rainbow. At the front, Zhu Yangqi and Ling Xinghai glanced coldly at Zhouwen. Then their gazes landed on Saiku Hongfei behind Zhouwen. Brother Saiku, are you siding with that Aunt Zhouwen? Ling Xinghai asked indifferently. Saiku Hongfei's expression was ugly. He glanced at Zhouwen's back. Although he was worried, he knew that he was already on Zhouwen's side. No matter how bad the situation was, he had to continue walking. Zhouwen said indifferently, Zhu Yangqi, Ling Xinghai, you're too slow. I've been waiting for you here for a long time. Zhu Yangqi and Ling Xinghai were stunned. They did not expect that Zhouwen would not beg for mercy the moment they met. Instead, he spoke such arrogant words. Oh, waiting for us? Are you waiting to die? Ling Xinghai sneered. Zhouwen shook his head and said, The two of you can cripple your own cultivation and give up the treasury of your clans. I can be merciful and not destroy your clans, so your clans can still survive in this world. The moment these words were spoken, the entire Divine City fell into a long period of silence. Zhu Yangqi, Ling Xinghai, and the cultivators in Hushu City all looked at Zhouwen strangely. Was this Zhouwen crazy? How could he say such arrogant words? Could it be that he couldn't see the strength of Zhu Yangqi and Ling Xinghai, as well as the terrifying cultivator army behind them? Saiku Hongfei's eyelids twitched as he grumbled in his heart. He thought that Zhouwen was too unrestrained in his words. There was no room for negotiation at all. After Zhu Yangqi and Ling Xinghai regained their senses, they flew into a rage. You're courting death. Today, our army of 100,000 will crush Hushu City, kill everyone in Divine City, then slaughter everyone in Hushu Realm. Zhu Yangqi was the most hot-tempered of them all. He yelled loudly, commanding the cultivators of Gods to attack the city. Cultivators descended from the sky, blotting out the sky and blotting out the sun. In an instant, they bombarded the divine city of Hushu. When these cultivators approached Hushu City, countless formation runes flashed on the surface of the city, erupting with violent energy. Then, like moths to a flame, these cultivators were blocked, crushed, and destroyed by the formation runes when they were several hundred feet away from Hushu City. In the blink of an eye, 20,000 cultivators were annihilated by the terrifying formation runes on the surface of the city. They didn't even have time to scream. The rest of the cultivators were terrified when they saw what happened to the 20,000 cultivators. They all turned around and fled in the direction away from the city. Zhouwen sneered. He slowly took out a formation disc and threw it out. The colorful formation runes that surrounded the surface of the divine city suddenly left the surface of the divine city and shot toward the fleeing cultivators like hidden weapons. Shrill screams rang out. Most of the fleeing cultivators were smashed into pieces by the formation runes. Only a small number of them escaped danger and returned to Zhu Yangqi's side. Zhu Yangqi was dumbfounded. He looked at the fleeing cultivators and couldn't recover from the shock for a while. In the city, the group of people who were worried that the city would be destroyed burst into an earth-shattering uproar after a moment of silence. They cheered endlessly. At the same time, they were terrified and in awe of the terrifying formation runes on the city. Ling Xinghai, who was about to order his cultivators to attack, forcefully withdrew the order and quickly led the cultivators of the Purple Mirage to retreat a distance. It's actually a first firmament of the eternal level formation. No wonder a mere ant like you is so confident. So this is what you're relying on. Ling Xinghai looked at the formation runes on the surface of the city in horror. His eyes were full of fear as he spoke in a deep voice. Zhu Yangqi also came back to his senses. He led the defeated cultivators back to Ling Xinghai's side and looked at the young man on the city wall in shock and anger. Saiku Hongfei lowered his head silently. His eyes were filled with deep fear. Zhu Yangqi and Ling Xinghai might think that Zhuowen had obtained the formation of the city, but he knew very well that it was set up by Zhuowen himself. He didn't know much about the Tao of formations, and Zhuowen had never activated the Grand Formation after setting it up. Therefore, he really didn't know what level the Grand Formation Zhuowen had set up was. He only thought it was an ordinary Grand Formation. He didn't expect it to be a first firmament of the eternal level formation. In that case, wasn't Zhuowen a first firmament of the eternal level formation, Tao Divine Master? Saiku Hongfei took a deep breath and looked deeply at Zhuowen. He no longer had any other thoughts in his mind. How do you know what I'm capable of? To be honest, it's easy for me to kill you. Zhuowen said indifferently. Ling Xinghai narrowed his eyes and said coldly, Arrogant brat, since you're so confident, do you dare to fight me? I'd like to see if you're as capable as you claim. Zhuowen raised his head, looked at Ling Xinghai indifferently and said, sarcastically, trying to goad me? What a cheap trick. Ling Xinghai retorted, think what you want. I think you're just an ant who doesn't dare to talk big. I can come out and fight, but you're not qualified. Zhuowen said indifferently. Ling Xinghai was furious. He said coldly, you're just an ancient star transformation cultivator, and I'm already at the late stage of the universe tribulation. You say I'm not qualified? Isn't that too ridiculous? Zhuowen didn't speak. He raised his right hand and pointed at Zhu Yangqi, who was beside Ling Xinghai, and said with a slight smile, If you two fight together, you're barely qualified. Ling Xinghai and Zhu Yangqi's pupils shrank into needles. They looked at the figure standing on the city wall in disbelief. Inside and outside the divine city, all the cultivators were in an uproar. They suspected that there was something wrong with their ears. Zhuowen was just at the peak of the ancient star transformation. He dared to challenge two powerhouses at the late stage of the universe tribulation. Where did he get his courage from? Did he think he was one of those monstrous geniuses on the outer realm heavenly list? Since you insist on seeking death, we'll fulfill your wish.